Chapter 2768. The emperor smiled and said, "At least you still have some conscience." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Go and tell the imperial kitchen to prepare. I want to hold a family banquet in the Autumn Rain restaurant tonight. It must be completed before dark. Also, inform the princes and princesses." The emperor looked at the two maids and ordered. "Yes." The two maids responded respectfully. Then, they turned around and left quickly. "Father, mother, how many brothers and sisters have you given me?" Qin Feiyang looked at the emperor and Lu Qiuyu curiously. Hearing this, the couple couldn't help but blush. White-Eyed Wolf rolled his eyes and said with a sneaky smile, "I have to admit that you're really amazing. You're both grandparents, but you still." The couple was even more embarrassed. "Uncle Wolf. We don't agree with you. Can't we have more children after becoming grandparents? We'll talk about it again. Grandpa and Grandma are still so young," Lu Xiaofan said. Lu Qiuyu and the emperor were helpless. It was fine when Lu Xiaofan spoke up for them, but it was even more embarrassing when he spoke up for them. Young? In terms of age, they were all old antiques. However, in the path of cultivation, age was not the main point. For example, Qin Feiyang was already an antique in the eyes of others. The most important thing was that he was not married yet, let alone having children. By the time he got married and had children, the children of Lu Xiaofan and his sister would probably be adults. What exactly is there? Qin Feiyang was curious. The emperor said, "Didn't Lu Hong and the rest tell you that you're in the Lu family?" "No. They said that there's a big group." Qin Feiyang said. "A big group?" The emperor was speechless. This was too exaggerated. He said, "You'll know when you see them tonight." "Then I'm really looking forward to it," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Next, it was inevitable that they would ask about his well-being. However, Qin Feiyang didn't mention a word about the situation in the ancient world. Because he didn't want his family to worry about him. Noon. Lu Qiuyu personally cooked a table full of delicious dishes for Qin Feiyang. It felt good to be at home. Especially when she ate her mother's cooking, she felt an unprecedented sense of happiness and satisfaction. Afternoon. Lu Xiaofan and his sister stayed in the Autumn Rain Inn. Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf entered the mountain behind the palace. Hundreds of years had passed in the back of the mountain. Other than the flowers and trees, there was not much change. The Kirin army was guarding the entrance. When they saw Qin Feiyang, they were also shocked and doubtful. They even suspected that they were dreaming. In the deepest part of the back mountain. This was a place full of life. The vegetation was lush and the wildflowers were in full bloom. Clear rivers flowed from east to west, north to south like giant dragons. Furthermore, there were a lot of ferocious beasts here. Almost every ferocious beast had the cultivation of a battle emperor. However, they were very well behaved and quietly cultivated, making this place seem especially peaceful. Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf passed through the forest and soon heard the sound of a waterfall. After walking for a while, a giant mountain that was more than 10,000 feet high came into sight. Around the giant mountain, white mist lingered and auspicious beasts flew. A magnificent waterfall poured down from the top of the mountain and gathered at the foot of the mountain to form a lake that was about 1,000 feet long, connecting the surrounding rivers. On the surface of the lake, ripples were rippling and lotus leaves were standing. Beside the lake, there was an inconspicuous small courtyard. The courtyard was rather old. It was surrounded by a wooden fence that was more than a meter high. In the courtyard, other than a two-story building, there was also a flower garden, a vegetable garden, a pavilion, a stream. This place was filled with simplicity and a sense of tranquility. Moreover, in the middle of the lake, there was a stone platform. On the stone platform, there were 5 statues. Each statue was more than 3 meters tall and looked very lifelike. Among them, the statue in the center was the founding emperor of the Great Qin dynasty, Qin Batian. Behind them were Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, and the current emperor. The last statue was Qin Feiyang. These 5 statues were personally created by Qin Feiyang, and this was also the place of inheritance that he created. Back then, the inheritances he left here were the eclipse of the sun and moon, the Guiyuan sword technique, the ruins of the end, the divine dragon technique, and the most powerful divine art he had at that time, the divine dragon technique. As for the 3,000 incarnations, he hadn't completely controlled them at that time, so he couldn't leave them behind. Slave seal, puppet technique, considering various factors, he didn't leave them behind. As for the 6-word divine art, at that time, he had this thought, but perhaps because he hadn't fully comprehended the 6-word divine art, he didn't leave behind the inheritance. But even so, with the divine dragon technique, it was enough to benefit the future generations of the Great Qin dynasty. At this moment, by the lake, 2 old men sat opposite each other. The 2 of them were drinking tea and playing chess. Their expressions were extremely leisurely and comfortable. The old man in black took a chess piece and placed it on the chessboard. He smiled and said, "Father, you can really hold it in. Otherwise what? Could it be that I'm like those young people, scrambling to find Feiyang? At least I'm old, I can't afford to lose this person." The old man in white sitting opposite him shook his head and laughed. That's right. These 2 old men were Qin Feiyang's great-grandfather and grandfather, Emperor Chen. The 2 of them had already heard from old Qin and the other 3 that Qin Feiyang had returned. However, they were very calm and didn't take the initiative to look for Qin Feiyang. Firstly, it was a matter of face. Secondly, they knew that Qin Feiyang would come to see them. "Grandfather, great-grandfather, your comfortable days are really enviable." Suddenly, a laugh came. "Look, isn't he here?" Hearing this voice, a smile suddenly appeared on Emperor Chen's face. He looked at Emperor Chen sitting opposite him and laughed. Emperor Chen also smiled slightly. Then, the 2 old men got up and looked in the direction of the voice. They saw a man and a wolf slowly walking towards them on a small path not far away. "This stinking brat is even calmer than us." Emperor Chen laughed and scolded. This is in line with his character. Emperor Hong shook his head and smiled. After a short while, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf walked in front of the 2. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 old men for a while, smiled slightly, and bowed. "Grandson pays respects to grandfather, great-grandfather." "2 old men, how are you?" The white-eyed wolf also waved his paw and greeted. "Old but strong, very good." Emperor Hong patted his chest hard, then pointed to the stone bench next to him and said with a smile, "Sit down." "Okay." Qin Feiyang sat on the side, looked at the chess game on the table, and then looked up at the stone platform in the middle of the lake. The white-eyed wolf kept looking at the chess game. What the hell was this? He couldn't understand it at all. "You stinking brat, can't you be a little excited when you see grandfather and great-grandfather?" Emperor Chen looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly. "Didn't I learn this from you? The mentality is the most important." Qin Feiyang smiled. Emperor Chen rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Why do you want to come back?" Qin Feiyang was a little surprised, looked at Emperor Chen, and asked curiously, "Grandfather, you seem to have known that I will leave? Isn't it simple? If you plan to stay at home, you will definitely bring our granddaughter-in-law to see us. But not now." "What does this mean?" "It means that you just came back to see us temporarily." Emperor Chen smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and said with a smile, "Grandfather's eyes are really sharp." Don't flatter me. Tell me, how long will you stay this time? Emperor Chen said. I don't know yet. Qin Feiyang shook his head. It's okay. Grandfather and great-grandfather are at home, you don't have to worry at all. Emperor Chen smiled. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded, thought for a while, looked at the two, and said, I have found my ancestor. As soon as Emperor Chen and Emperor Hong heard this, their calm expressions immediately changed. Qin Badian was Emperor Hong's biological father, which meant he was Emperor Chen's grandfather. The two naturally cared about Qin Baishan's safety. Emperor Hong took a deep breath and asked, How is father now? Very good. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's good. I thought I would never see him again in my life, but now it seems, there is still hope. Emperor Hong smiled. Yes. Next time, I will come back with my ancestor. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Emperor Hong nodded and said with a smile, It's good to come back, you can meet your brothers and sisters. Qin Feiyang said, I heard from grandfather that this is the idea of you too. Or else? Counting on you and Haotian? Look at the two of you, none of you are married and have children. You don't have to say, after all, you are wandering outside, it's understandable. But Haotian is also one-track-minded. Every time I chat with him, he says that he is not interested in the throne and marriage. What can we do? We can't let our Qin clan's bloodline die in the hands of the two of you. Since we can't count on the two of you, we can only let your parents continue to work hard. So, you can't blame us, you can only blame yourselves. Emperor Hong smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. In the end, it was his and Qin Haotian's fault. Okay. You don't need to tell us about the situation of the ancient world. After all, even if we know, we can't help much. Just tell us, how have you been these years? Emperor Hong asked. Qin Feiyang thought for a while and said with a smile, although there were many disasters, I survived. Good. You didn't let us down. The two nodded. When Qin Feiyang left, they had already thought that the problems that Qin Feiyang would face in the future would be more difficult than when he was in Great Qin. In their hearts, they were still worried. And now, seeing that Qin Feiyang came back alive, they were completely relieved. Qin Feiyang looked at the statue in the center of the lake again and asked curiously, Grandfather, great-grandfather, how many people have obtained the inheritance here in these years? Not many. And only one person has obtained the complete inheritance. Emperor Hong said. Qin Haotian? Qin Feiyang asked. Emperor Hong nodded and asked, I heard from old Qin that you have already met him in the throne room? Yes. Qin Feiyang replied. How do you feel? Emperor Hong asked with a smile. Very good. It's much better than I expected. Qin Feiyang smiled. Haotian is indeed very good in all aspects. If there is a chance in the future, teach him more. Emperor Hong said. I will. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then play 2 games with us. Emperor Hong pointed at the chessboard. This. I haven't played for a long time, I'm afraid of being laughed at by you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. As the Prince of Great Qin, he naturally knew how to play chess, but since he was expelled from the imperial capital, he rarely touched it again. It's not a big deal, why would we laugh at you? Come on. Emperor Hong shook his head speechlessly. Alright, I'll play a few games with you two elders. Qin Feiyang smiled. Next, in this quiet place, there was endless laughter, and it seemed incomparably harmonious. Chapter 2769. What did you say? Father is holding a banquet at the Autumn Rain Inn tonight to welcome Qin Feiyang? Qin Feiyang? Isn't he my elder brother? In a magnificent palace, a young girl around the age of 13 or 14 looked at a maid beside her. "That's right. His Highness is your elder brother," the maid said. "When did he come back?" The young girl was suspicious. "Don't you know? His Highness came back yesterday. And this morning, he killed Marquis Yang in the throne room and deposed the other Marquis. I also heard that because Prince Li made a mistake, he was expelled from the imperial capital by His Highness and can't return for 5 years. The maid said softly. "He's that powerful?" The young girl was surprised. "Princess, your elder brother is extraordinarily powerful. When you go to the autumn rain-in tonight, you must not be naughty," the maid said worriedly. "I won't." The young girl giggled, but her eyes were rolling around. "Welcome him at night? We've never enjoyed such treatment, let alone in the autumn rain-in. That's Mother's residence. It's hard for ordinary people to enter." In another palace, an imposing young man shook his head and said, "After all, he's Qin Feiyang. Your Highness, this old servant has something to say to appease your anger. Although His Majesty and Her Majesty have many children, the person they dote on the most is actually still Qin Feiyang." A eunuch standing by the side said, "Why should I be angry? This is the truth. After all, my elder brother is the guardian of the great Qin. No matter what, he's better than us. It's normal that father and mother dote on him." The young man said. "Elder brother?" The eunuch was stunned. "He's the eldest son of our bloodline. It's understandable that we call him elder brother." The young man smiled. "That's true." The eunuch nodded. "He deposed a marquis and even expelled Qin Li from the imperial capital. My elder brother's methods are a little scary. Seems like I have to behave myself tonight." The young man muttered. "Definitely. Furthermore, this old servant has a premonition that if your Highness performs well, you might be able to obtain a great opportunity," the eunuch said with a smile. "Opportunity," the young man murmured. When the princes and princesses received the news that they were going to attend the banquet at the autumn rain-in, they couldn't help but feel nervous. Not to mention other things, just the various rumors about Qin Feiyang alone made them feel awe. Time flew by. Night fell. Pavilion of autumn rain. In the main hall of the attic, there were 2 mahogany dining tables and 20 mahogany chairs in the hall. Maids were walking in and out of the room, carrying dishes that smelled good and tasted good. Outside, there were lanterns hanging on both sides of the path and around the pavilions, illuminating the garden. The Emperor, Lu Qiuyu, and Lu Xiaofan were all sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea and chatting. Laughter could be heard everywhere. Princess Yun has arrived. Accompanied by a cry, a woman in her 20s slowly walked into the garden. The maids that came with her stayed outside the garden. Princess Yun glanced in front of her. When she saw Lu Qiuyu and the others in the pavilion, she quickly walked over and bowed. "Greetings to father and mother. You're here." Lu Qiuyu smiled. Princess Yun nodded and entered the pavilion. When she saw Lu Xiaofan and his sister, she smiled. "You're here too. Auntie, you're getting more and more beautiful." Lu Xiaojia ran up and hugged Princess Yun's arm, looking very intimate. "You have the sweetest mouth." Princess Yun pinched Lu Xiaojia's nose and looked around. "Father, mother, where's big brother?" "He went to the back of the mountain to visit your grandfather and great-grandfather. He should be back soon." Lu Qiuyu smiled. "Prince Xian has arrived." Another cry was heard. A young man in his 20s strode into the garden. "Mother, father." The young man greeted Lu Qiuyu and the emperor from afar. "Xian, come here." Lu Qiuyu was also full of smiles. Qin Xian ran to the pavilion and looked at Princess Yun. He grinned. Sister, you came earlier than me. Why are you in such a hurry to see Big Brother? Aren't you in a hurry too? Princess Yun laughed. Of course. After all, we all grew up hearing about Big Brother. Qin Xian chuckled. Princess Wan, Prince Ji has arrived. Along with a shout, a man and a woman entered the garden. The man was about 1.8 meters tall and the woman was about 1.7 meters tall. They wore luxurious clothes and a long skirt and had an extraordinary aura. Father, mother. The two entered the pavilion and bowed to Lu Qiuyu and the emperor. The couple nodded. Sister Yun, Brother Xian, Xiaofei, Xiaojia, Princess Wan smiled and walked towards Princess Yun and the others. As for Prince Ji, he stood behind Lu Qiuyu with his arms crossed and his eyes closed. He didn't seem to care about anything around him. His face didn't seem to be smiling. Prince E has arrived. Soon. 2 more people ran into the garden. Both of them were very young, about 13 or 14 years old. They looked quite cute as they walked. Mother, father, the 2 little ones ran over. One sat on Lu Qiuyu's lap, and the other sat in the emperor's arms. Xiaoyi, you are already so old. Why are you still sitting on father and mother's laps? What are you doing? Qin Xian walked forward and pinched their cheeks. Princess E giggled. What does it matter? There are no outsiders. As she said that, Princess E looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and said, Why aren't you coming over to greet your aunt? In your dreams. Lu Xiaofei pursed his lips. She was obviously younger than him, but she still acted like an old man. Prince E jumped down from the emperor's lap and ran in front of Lu Xiaofei. Brother Fei, women have long hair and short knowledge. Don't bother with her. Long hair, short knowledge. Princess Lu Yun, Princess Wan, and Lu Xiaojia all looked at Prince E unkindly. Lu Qiuyu also shook her head and laughed. Princess E also widened her eyes and looked at Prince E. Impudent. How dare you speak to your sister like that? Prince E said, Bullshit, you are clearly my sister. It's sister. Princess E said angrily. It's sister. Prince E picked his ear and said lightly. You. Princess E glared at Prince E and then looked at Lu Qiuyu. Mother, tell me, who was born first? Whether it's sister or sister, we are all family. What's there to fight about? Lu Qiuyu was helpless. Family, shouldn't there be a first come, first served rule? He was born later than me. Why should he call me sister? Princess E said aggrievedly. Well, you were born first. Lu Qiuyu smiled bitterly. Prince E looked at Lu Qiuyu with dissatisfaction and said, Mother, you didn't say that before. I was born first. Okay, aren't you guys annoying? Every time you meet, you fight about this? Qin Xian glared at the 2 little ones. If you are annoying, plug your ears. Princess E snorted coldly. That's right, I didn't ask you to listen. Prince E also glared at Qin Xian. Qin Xian was slightly stunned and immediately raised his arm and said, You 2 little ones, do you believe that I will beat you? Come on. If you dare to beat us, we will let mother and father beat you. The 2 of them were not afraid at all. They ran into the arms of the emperor and Lu Qiuyu and looked at Qin Xian provocatively. Qin Xian's face darkened. What a pair of clever little brats. Following a burst of laughter, Li Jian, Old Qin, and Qin Sheng slowly walked toward them. Seeing the 5 people coming, Qin Xian, Princess Yun, Princess Wan, Prince Ji, and the 2 little ones immediately stepped forward and bowed. Elder Qin nodded, rubbed the 2 little ones' heads, and said with a smile, Do you think your brother Qin Xian really doesn't dare to beat you? He is letting you know. I'm not afraid. Prince Yi shook his head. Elder Qin shook his head and laughed. He looked up at the emperor and Lu Qiuyu and said, "Where is Feiyang?" "In the back mountain," the emperor said. Elder Qin nodded, looked at Qin Xian and the others, and said with a smile, "Let me see if you have made any progress in your cultivation." "Needless to say, my progress is definitely the greatest," Prince Yi said proudly. "So confident? Come on, I will practice a few moves with you and see how much progress you have made." Qin Xian shook his arm. "Aren't you bullying the weak?" Prince Yi stared at Qin Xian with dissatisfaction. "If you don't dare, just say it. Don't make excuses." Qin Xian pursed his lips. "Wait for me. When I am as big as you, I will fight with you again. See how I will beat you then," Prince Yi said with a snort. "Sister will help you then." Princess Yi patted Prince Yi on the shoulder and said with a smile. "How many times do I have to say, you are my sister?" Prince Yi said angrily. "I am your sister," Princess Yi said. "Sister. Sister," the two little ones glared at each other, neither of them willing to back down. Seeing this scene, the emperor and others couldn't help but want to laugh. Prince Haotian has arrived. Suddenly, another shout rang out. They saw Qin Haotian striding over. Although he was still very young, he already had the aura of an emperor that couldn't be ignored. "Brother Haotian," Princess Yi's eyes lit up. She hurriedly ran over and jumped into Qin Haotian's arms. "Little girl, you are so old, yet you are still so naughty." Qin Haotian rubbed Princess Yi's head, his eyes full of love. Princess Yi giggled and said, "Brother Haotian, you say something fair. Am I the elder sister or the younger sister? Brother Haotian, you have to be honest, don't talk nonsense." Prince Yi also ran over. Qin Haotian looked at the two of them, his face full of helplessness, and said, "You two might as well fight. Whoever wins will have the final say." The two little ones looked at each other, as if they were thinking about something. "Don't dare to fight? Then be honest and don't chatter." Qin Haotian walked into the pavilion with one in each hand and bowed, "Father, Mother." The two nodded and smiled. What everyone didn't know was that Qin Feiyang had actually returned a long time ago and was standing in the void above at this moment. Chapter 2770. White-Eyed Wolf, Emperor Hong, and Emperor Chen were also there. However, Qin Feiyang had activated the concealment art, so no one noticed. Why did he activate the concealment art and hide above? He just wanted to observe these little brothers and sisters first, what kind of personality they had. Emperor Hong laughed. "Feiyang, did you hear how Qin Haotian addressed your mother?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Emperor Hong secretly said, "He called Qiu Yu Mother Empress, which means that he has long regarded Qiu Yu as his own mother." Emperor Chen, who was beside him, laughed. "To be honest, the more I look at this kid, the more I like him. After all, he is someone I have my eyes on. His character is definitely not bad." Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. "Shameless." Emperor Chen rolled his eyes at Qin Feiyang, and asked, "How is the observation?" "It's about time." Qin Xian's personality is a bit frivolous and sloppy, but his nature is kind. Qin Yun, Qin Wan, knowledgeable and well-mannered. Qin Ji, silent and a bit cold. As for Qin Yi, these two little ones, speaking of which. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. These were the two clever kids. They are twins, so when they were named, one was called Yi, and the other was called Yi. They have been fighting over who is the older brother and who is the older sister. Emperor Hong shook his head and smiled. "Twins?" Qin Feiyang was startled, looked at the two little ones, and said, "Even if they are twins, there should be an order. Qin Yi was born first, Qin Yi was born later." Although they are always arguing, Qin Yi still loves his sister dearly. Emperor Hong transmitted. In other words, Qin Yi is the youngest? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. Other than Yuan Haotian, Qin Li is the oldest, followed by Qin Yun, Qin Xian, Qin Wan, Qin Ji, Qin Yi, Emperor Hong said. Listening to your words, all the brothers and sisters have arrived? Qin Feiyang said. Otherwise? Emperor Hong looked at him suspiciously. Didn't Grandpa and the others say that there will be a large group of them? Counting them, including Qin Li, there are only 7. Qin Feiyang was stunned. 7 isn't a lot. Emperor Hong looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. No. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. A hint of craftiness flashed across Emperor Hong's eyes as he said, if you also feel that it's not much, then this old man will have your parents continue to work hard. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang could not help but smile bitterly. She had already given birth to 7 children. More? Looking at his great-grandfather's attitude, he couldn't wait for his father and mother to give birth to dozens of great-grandchildren for him. Not to mention his father and mother, even he would not agree to such a thing. After all, his mother's life had been hard enough. She should have been enjoying life, but now she had to take care of a bunch of children. They're probably getting impatient. Let's go down quickly. Emperor Chen said with a smile. Qin Feiyang and Emperor Hong nodded. Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and the concealment art disappeared. Then the 3 people and 1 wolf landed outside the pavilion. Feiyang. Lu Qiuyu was the first to notice Qin Feiyang and quickly got up. Hearing Lu Qiuyu's voice, everyone also looked at Qin Feiyang. Even the 2 little ones quieted down. They opened their eyes wide and looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Qin Ji, who had his eyes closed, also opened his eyes and looked at Qin Feiyang. Father, grandfather, the emperor stepped forward and bowed to Emperor Chen and Emperor Hong. The 2 nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of younger brothers and sisters, smiled slightly, and said, "Do you need me to introduce myself?" Qin Xian and the others were silent, as if they were a little reserved. All right. Let me introduce myself. I'm Qin Feiyang, and I'm also your big brother. Qin Feiyang smiled. When Lu Qiuyu heard this, she said snappily, "What do you mean Count? You are their big brother." Huh, Qin Feiyang smiled, looked at the group of people, and said, "Just as mother said, I am your big brother, not a man-eating demon, let go." They looked at each other. They also wanted to let go. But the tension in their hearts could not be dispelled. Even the 2 little ones were the same. Who? After a while, Qin Ji took a deep breath and took the lead to walk in front of Qin Feiyang. He bowed and said, "Little brother Qin Ji greets big brother." Qin Feiyang was a little surprised. He never thought that Qin Ji would be the first person to talk to him. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Ji and nodded, "The cultivation of the war saint is not bad. Thank you for your praise, big brother. This is all thanks to big brother's protection. If it weren't for the inheritance and pills left behind by big brother, I wouldn't have been able to step into the 1-star war saint so quickly." Qin Ji lowered his head and said, "What kind of inheritance did you get?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "Ascending dragon art." Qin Ji said. "Sure. When you have time in the future, come and find me. I will teach you some profound meanings of the ascending dragon art. Because my current ascending dragon art can raise my cultivation by 2 realms." Qin Feiyang smiled. 2 realms. Qin Ji's gaze trembled. This was a problem that he had never thought about before. That's right. Whether it is a battle art or a divine art, as long as you carefully comprehend it, there will be room for improvement. In short, you can't stay the same. You have to learn to create your own. Qin Feiyang said. Create your own, Qin Ji muttered, as if he understood, and bowed. Thank you for your teachings, big brother. Qin Feiyang smiled. Work hard, the future of Great Qin is your world. Qin Ji nodded and didn't say anything more. He silently retreated to the side and lowered his head to ponder over Qin Feiyang's words. What are you guys standing there for? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If there is anything you don't understand, quickly ask. Old man Qin smiled. This, Qin Xian hesitated for a moment. Finally, he mustered up his courage and ran to Qin Feiyang, smiling. Big brother, I also have a question. Is there room for improvement in the concealment art? You got the concealment art? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Qin Xian nodded and disappeared in front of everyone. Very soon, Qin Xian appeared again. It is indeed the concealment art. There is indeed room for improvement in the concealment art. For example, the concealment art that I have now can be activated twice a day for 2 hours each time. Qin Feiyang said. Twice? That means there are 2 chances to save my life? Qin Xian was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang smiled. Qin Xian smiled and said, Big brother, when will you teach me? Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. Thank you, big brother. You are much better than I thought. Qin Xian said. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked curiously, then what kind of person am I in your imagination? Strict. Cold. Old-fashioned. Serious in speech and manner. Qin Xian said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. It turned out that in the hearts of these brothers and sisters, he was such a person. No wonder they were so reserved. Will you be angry if I say so? Qin Xian looked at Qin Feiyang carefully. Why should I be angry? Qin Feiyang shook his head, looked at everyone, and said with a smile, This is the first time we meet. As your big brother, I will give each of you a gift. Gift? They looked at each other. What gift? Qin Xian asked curiously. After getting along with each other, he had completely let go. Uncle's greeting gift is incredible. You have to be mentally prepared. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Xian looked at Lu Xiaofei and asked, From your tone, you have already received a gift? Of course. Lu Xiaofei smiled proudly. Qin Xian said, What treasure? Let me take a look. No. Lu Xiaofei shook his head. Stingy. Qin Xian pouted. Qin Feiyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, 6 divine weapons and 6 jade slips appeared. You can choose yourselves. Qin Feiyang looked at them and said with a faint smile. Qin Xian immediately climbed up, looked left and right, and finally grabbed one of the jade slips and a long spear. Thank you, big brother. After thanking him, Qin Xian ran to the side and carefully looked at them. Qin Ji. Qin Feiyang looked at Qin Ji. Qin Ji hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he couldn't help but go forward and grab a jade slip and a broadsword. Lu Qiuyu smiled. Qin Yun, Qin Wan, why aren't you going? Qin Yun and Qin Wan looked at Lu Qiuyu. Under Lu Qiuyu's encouraging eyes, they finally stepped forward and walked towards Qin Feiyang. Big brother. When they arrived in front of Qin Feiyang, the 2 of them bowed. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, Slowly, you will find that I am actually quite easy to get along with. The 2 looked at each other, and a smile appeared on their faces. They took a jade slip and a divine weapon one after another. Brother, do we have one too? The 2 little ones looked at Qin Feiyang. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, But you are still young, let mother keep it for you first. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the remaining 2 divine weapons and 2 jade slips floated in front of Lu Qiuyu. He. Brother, you are so nice. The 2 little ones came in front of Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh out loud. He dotingly rubbed their little heads. The emperor smiled and said, let's go, the banquet is ready. The group immediately walked towards the pavilion. Looking at Qin Feiyang's back, Qin Haotian's eyes seemed to have a trace of disappointment. Everyone had a gift, but he didn't. Sure enough. He was just an outsider after all. And Qin Haotian's abnormality was discovered by Lu Qiuyu, and said with a smile, Haotian, don't think too much, Feiyang will not forget you. Qin Haotian was slightly stunned and hurriedly said, Mother, what are you talking about? I'm not thinking of anything. I watched you grow up, can you hide your thoughts from me? Let's go. Lu Qiuyu smiled kindly, pulled Qin Haotian's hand, and walked towards the pavilion. Looking at Lu Qiuyu and feeling the strong motherly love, Qin Haotian smiled slightly. In fact, it was already enough. Because he had a mother who always loved him. At the banquet, everyone was laughing and talking. Moreover, Qin Feiyang asked Hua Yi for more than a dozen jars of immortal wine. This immortal wine was a top-grade divine wine that couldn't be bought with money. Even the emperor couldn't help but be greedy and drink 1 cup after another. Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, Elder Qin, Li Jian, and Qin Sheng were also full of praise. After 3 rounds of wine, looking at the approachable Qin Feiyang without any airs, Qin Yun and Qin Wan also gradually let go. This big brother was indeed different from what they imagined. Chapter 2771. The banquet didn't end until late at night. Li Jian, Old Man Qin, and Qin Sheng left drunk. For their cultivation, drinking wouldn't make them drunk. But they were happy today. So they didn't use divine power to dissolve it. But Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, and Qin Yun didn't leave. It seemed that they wanted to talk to Qin Feiyang all night. Big brother, where have you been all these years when you left? Qin Yun and Qin Wan looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. They also drank a lot, and their cheeks were slightly red. Ancient world. Qin Feiyang smiled. Ancient world? Qin Yun and Qin Wan were stunned and asked, what kind of place is the ancient world? Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and said with a faint smile, the ancient world is a place full of opportunities and also full of danger. Are the people in the ancient world strong? Also, is the ancient world big? Not only Qin Yun and Qin Wan, but Qin Haotian, Qin Xian, Qin Ji, and the 2 little ones were also curious. Of course. There are war gods everywhere in the ancient world. It's also very big. Even a corner of the ancient world is several times, dozens of times better than the great Qin. Qin Feiyang said. So big? There are so many war gods? Then aren't you in great danger in the ancient world? Qin Wan exclaimed. Yes. It's a narrow escape. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, but fortunately, I came here safely. Then big brother, with your current strength, what level are you in the ancient world? Qin Xian asked. How should I put it? In terms of means and strength, I should be considered one of the best. But in terms of cultivation, I can only be considered above average. Qin Feiyang said. With your cultivation, you can only be considered above average? Everyone was dumbfounded. Lu Qiuyu, Emperor Hong, and Emperor Chen were also shocked, and even their drunkenness was gone. Yes. I'm now at the 9th heaven realm. But in the ancient world, especially the divine land, there are a lot of 9th heaven realm and great perfection 9th heaven realm. And above the 9th heaven realm is the undead realm. The undead realm is the real peak expert in the ancient world. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile. Then, aren't you about to break through to the undead realm? Qin Ji. It's not that easy. Qin Feiyang shook his head. There were as many Ninth Heaven's realm cultivators as there were dogs in the ancient world, but there were only a few in the imperishable realm. I really didn't expect there to be such a wonderful great world outside. Qin Haotian muttered, his face full of yearning. Qin Feiyang glanced at him, then looked at Qin Xian and the others and said, "It's already so late, you guys should go back and rest first." Qin Xian was a little reluctant. "Gather here tomorrow morning. I'll take you to a place." Qin Feiyang said. "What place?" Everyone was curious. Qin Feiyang said, "A place you're afraid of." "A place we're afraid of?" Everyone was stunned. "You'll find out tomorrow." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Okay. Your big brother just came back 2 days ago. He needs to have a good rest. Listen to me. Go back." Lu Qiuyu got up and said with a smile. "Okay then." Everyone nodded. "Remember. No one is allowed to be absent tomorrow. If anyone doesn't come, I'll ask the White-Eyed Wolf to invite him. The White-Eyed Wolf is not as easy to talk to as me." Qin Feiyang looked at them and said. "Ahem." The White-Eyed Wolf coughed and pretended to be fierce. "I'm not easy to talk to. Be careful." Everyone smiled disapprovingly and turned around to leave. Di asked suspiciously, "Feiyang, where are you going to take them tomorrow?" "Jade can't be uncut. The descendants of the Qin clan were born with a heavy burden, so they must bear the pain that others can't bear." Qin Feiyang said. "Pain?" Lu Qiuyu, Di, and Di Chen looked at each other. Why didn't it sound like something bad? "Little Qin Zi, I know what you're going to do. Qin Xian, Qin Ji, Qin Yun, and Qin Wan are okay. After all, they're already so old. But Qin Yi and Qin Yi are still so young. Are they suitable?" The White-Eyed Wolf frowned. "They're already 13 or 14 years old. Are they still young?" Qin Feiyang said, looking at Lu Qiuyu and Di. "I think you've spoiled them too much. Even now, they're still acting like a spoiled child in your arms." The couple smiled awkwardly. "You can't blame them. The pain you suffered in the spiritual state has always been a knot in their hearts. So they feel sorry for Qin Xian and this group of children." Di sighed. "I can understand. If they were born in an ordinary family, naturally no one would care. But unfortunately, they're not. As the descendants of the Qin clan, whether it's a younger brother or a younger sister, they have to bear the responsibility." Qin Feiyang said. "Well, it's up to you. Anyway, we know that no matter what you do, it's for their own good. But you asked Li Jian to send him to the 9 states. Although we all know that you want him to go there to gain experience, he may not think so. I'm afraid that in the end, it will be counterproductive." Di was a little worried. "Then it depends on his awareness. If he can wake up, it proves that he's not hopeless. But if he continues to be stubborn, then when Qin Feiyang said this, he did not continue. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Lu Qiuyu and the others felt the coldness in Qin Feiyang's words and their hearts trembled. "Okay, we'll talk about it when the time comes." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at Qin Haotian. "You didn't say much the whole night. Is it because I didn't give you the divine weapon and divine art that made you uncomfortable?" "No." Qin Haotian shook his head to hide it. Qin Feiyang smiled. "What kind of person haven't I seen? Do you think you can hide your little thoughts from me? I don't need your charity." Qin Haotian snorted and got up to leave. "You have to come tomorrow." Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Qin Haotian's back. "Why?" Qin Haotian raised his eyebrows. Don't you want to defeat me? This is an opportunity. You're now a 3-star combat emperor. And I can help you break through to the war god realm in a few days. Qin Feiyang said. What? Qin Haotian looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Qin Feiyang said, maybe it won't take a few days. One day will be enough. One day, Qin Haotian's face was filled with disbelief. Not to mention Qin Haotian, even the emperor and the others didn't dare to believe it. I think you don't want to miss this opportunity. Qin Feiyang smiled. Okay. I'll come on time tomorrow morning. Qin Haotian took a deep breath and nodded at Qin Feiyang, then turned around and left. His heart couldn't calm down for a long time. One day, he could break through to the war god realm in just one day. If it was true, then it was too unbelievable. Feiyang. You're not joking, right? Lu Qiuyu watched Qin Haotian leave, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Mother, why would I joke about this kind of thing? Qin Haotian is different from the other siblings. His temperament no longer needs to be tempered. As long as he follows me to the Black Tortoise realm tomorrow to cultivate in seclusion, as long as he can successfully comprehend the profound mysteries of becoming a god, I guarantee that he will definitely be able to step into the war god realm in less than a day. Qin Feiyang said. One had to know. In the current Black Tortoise realm, that was 1,000 years in a day. Moreover, with the growth of the spirit vein and crystal vein, the energy of the Black Tortoise realm had also reached a rare level. Even if one didn't refine the soul stone, their cultivation would still advance by leaps and bounds. Not to mention, a war king like Qin Haotian. Entering the Black Tortoise realm was equivalent to entering a cultivator's paradise. When Emperor Hong and the others heard this, although they felt that it was a bit like a fantasy, they still believed it. Father, where do Li Jian and old man Qin usually stay? Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at the emperor and asked. Almost all of them are in the back mountain. The emperor said. Qin Feiyang nodded, and asked, Ant Emperor, Spider Emperor, Golden Wolf King, Silver Wolf King, and Pangolin and the others? The Nether Demon Spider and the others had all chosen to stay in the Great Qin. Them. I don't know either. Sometimes they come back once every few years, sometimes once every few decades. I don't know where they are playing. The emperor laughed. These guys, Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. It seemed that all of them were living quite carefree lives. Qin Feiyang stood up and walked outside. At the same time, he sent a sound transmission, Fire Lotus, prepare 11 8th step God-level spirit vein and crystal vein for me. I already knew you would need it, so I've already prepared it. Fire Lotus's voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. You already knew? Qin Feiyang was slightly startled, and secretly laughed, as expected, you understand me. Feiyang, where are you going? Seeing this, the emperor and the others also stood up and chased after Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled mysteriously, looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, same old rules. Understood. The white-eyed wolf grinned, and with a swoosh, it soared into the air, followed by the rolling divine power, and disappeared into the ground. Rise. At that moment, the ground began to tremble violently, and the entire garden, including the attic, rose from the ground. Lu Qiuyu and the others were puzzled. I understand, Uncle wants to bury the spirit vein and crystal vein here. Seeing this, Lu Xiaofan said. Spirit vein? Crystal vein? What is that? Lu Qiuyu and the others were stunned. These are all supreme treasures. The day before yesterday in our village, Uncle also buried 10 spirit veins and crystal veins. On the same day, almost everyone in our village broke through their cultivation. Lu Xiaofan said excitedly. So powerful? The few of them were shocked. Very powerful. Lu Xiaojia also nodded, her big black eyes looking at Qin Feiyang, full of admiration. Not long after, the garden rose into the air. Qin Feiyang raised his arm and waved gently. A crystal vein and a spirit vein immediately appeared, and then fell into the pit below. Why is there only one spirit vein and one crystal vein? Lu Xiaofei and his sister were suspicious. The Lu family had 10. Logically speaking, there should be more here. After all, this was uncle's home. Why was there less than the Lu family? Chapter 2772. Soon, the spirit vein and crystal vein were placed, and everything was restored to its original state. This energy, Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen looked at each other in disbelief. This is the crystal vein and the spirit vein. Qin Feiyang briefly explained the use of the crystal vein and the spirit vein. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. Uncle, why did you only place one crystal vein and one spirit vein here? Lu Xiaofei could no longer hold back the doubts in his heart and asked. Qin Feiyang said, because this is specially for your grandmother. So it's like that. Lu Xiaofei suddenly understood. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Qiuyu and said, Mother, set up a barrier around it in the future to prevent the energy from leaking out. Okay. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen and said with a smile, Grandpa, let's go to the back mountain. Emperor Chen hurriedly said, Feiyang, this thing is so precious. Keep it for yourself. Don't worry about us. Obviously. Qin Feiyang was also going to place the crystal vein and the spirit vein in the back mountain. It's okay. I still have a lot. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. A lot? Emperor Chen was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. How many? Lu Xiaofei looked at Qin Feiyang curiously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, so many that you can't count them. Lu Xiaofei was stunned and asked, is it that exaggerated? Otherwise? Qin Feiyang laughed out loud. This kid was quite amusing. Back mountain. Hundreds of breaths passed. A huge amount of energy emerged. Li Jian, Elder Qin, and Qin Sheng were alarmed at the first moment. This energy, what's going on? They were still a little drunk, but when they sensed this energy, the drunkenness suddenly disappeared. Then, the 5 of them rushed into the sky and looked around. Soon, they found a group of people standing in the sky not far away. Young Master. Your Highness. The 5 of them flew over. Li Jian looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and asked, Young Master, what's going on? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, to create a good cultivation environment for you. A good cultivation environment? The 5 of them became even more suspicious. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Jian and asked with a smile, I believe you are familiar with soul stones, right? Soul stone? Li Jian was slightly startled. He said, yes, you broke through from the false god realm to the divine battle realm because you refined a soul stone. Soul stones are produced from a type of soul vein. And now, I've buried 10 soul veins here. Furthermore, these 10 soul lines are rank 8 god-level soul lines. Even in the ancient world, a rank 8 divine soul line is rare. With these spirit veins and crystal veins, your cultivation will progress by leaps and bounds. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. I see. Li Jian nodded in realization, his face full of excitement. Old Qin asked, what are crystal veins? The divine crystals produced by crystal veins have the effect of replenishing divine power, and it is also very helpful for cultivation. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Thank you, young master. Thank you, your highness. The few of them were very excited. They knew that Qin Feiyang did this not only for Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen, but also for them. You helped me protect Great Qin, of course I won't forget you. In the future, this place must be isolated with a barrier to prevent the energy of the spirit veins and crystal veins from leaking out. And you can also treat this back mountain as Great Qin's holy land. For example, some talented young people with good character can be brought to the back mountain to cultivate. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. The 5 of them nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Emperor Hong and Emperor Chen and said, in a few days, I will give you some more pill recipes. What pill recipes? Emperor Hong asked. Pill recipes that can make Great Qin rise quickly. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. In this life, what I am most proud of is having you as my grandson. Emperor Chen laughed. In this life, what this old man is most proud of is having you as my great-grandson. Emperor Hong also looked at Qin Feiyang with gratification. Lu Qiuyu and Emperor Chen were also full of smiles. Qin Feiyang was their son, and being praised by the 2 old men, they were naturally happy. After bidding farewell to Emperor Hong, Emperor Chen, and Li Jian, Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Lu Xiaofan and his sister, followed Emperor Chen and Lu Qiuyu back to the Autumn Rain Pavilion. In the main hall, the candlelight flickered. Qin Feiyang accompanied his parents for a long talk through the night. Being able to sit and drink tea with his parents was the happiest thing in his life. He cherished every minute and second of this moment. Unknowingly, the sky began to brighten and the sun rose slowly. After washing up, Emperor Chen looked at the mother and son and said with a smile, "You two talk, I will go to the morning assembly." Okay. Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Father, as the emperor of a generation, you can't be too sentimental." Emperor Chen was slightly taken aback and scolded with a smile, "Brat, do you still need to teach me?" After saying that, he turned and left. Lu Xiaojia suspiciously looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Uncle, what do you mean by that?" "Sister, you still don't understand? Yesterday, Uncle dethroned Wu Ho. This storm will definitely not calm down in a short time. He said that to remind grandfather not to give these people any thoughts." Lu Xiaofei said. "So it's like that?" Lu Xiaojia nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the brother and sister and asked, "I say, you two didn't sleep all night, aren't you sleepy?" "Just kidding. No matter what, I am also a cultivator. Which cultivator do you think would be sleepy?" Lu Xiaofei raised his head, a little proud. "Cultivators are amazing. I'm a little sleepy." Qin Feiyang said. "You're sleepy?" Lu Xiaofei was startled. He immediately stood up, looked at Qin Feiyang with concern, and asked, "Uncle, you can't be sick, right?" "Sick?" Qin Feiyang was startled. "If you're not sick, why would you be sleepy?" Lu Xiaofei said. "You're the one who's sick." Qin Feiyang glared at him snappily, and said, "Sooner or later, you will understand how blissful and luxurious it is to lie in bed and sleep." "Blissful? Extravagant? I really don't understand." Lu Xiaofei shook his head. In his opinion, sleeping was a waste of time. He might as well use this time to cultivate. No rush. Your life has just begun. You will slowly understand in the future. Qin Feiyang laughed. Princess Yun, Princess Wan, Prince Xian, Prince Ji, Princess Yi, Prince Yi has arrived. Suddenly. Following a shout, Qin Xian and the other 5 ran into the pavilion and bowed, "Mother, big brother." Lu Qiuyu nodded and smiled. "It's quite early." Qin Feiyang looked at the 6 of them. Qin Xian laughed and said, "How dare we neglect big brother's orders? Don't be glib. And, from this moment on, I am not your big brother." Qin Feiyang said. "What do you mean?" The 6 of them looked at each other. Qin Feiyang did not explain and said lightly, "Give me all your Qiankuan bags." Qiankuan bags? The 6 of them were suspicious. "Hurry up, don't dawdle," White-Eyed Wolf shouted. Okay. The 6 of them took out their Qiankuan bags and handed them to Qin Feiyang. "Mother, help them keep these Qiankuan bags first." Qin Feiyang turned around and handed the 6 Qiankuan bags to Lu Qiuyu. "Okay." Lu Qiuyu nodded and took the 6 Qiankuan bags. At this time, Qin Haotian strode into the hall and directly took out his Qiankuan bag without saying anything. "You don't need it." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Qin Haotian was slightly stunned and then put away his Qiankuan bag. Qin Xian said unhappily, "Big brother, why doesn't Brother Haotian have to hand over his Qiankuan bag? This is unfair. There is no fairness in this world." After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand and disappeared with Qin Haotian and the others. Black Tortoise World. At the edge of the Desert of Death. In the sky, a group of people appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang and the others. "Where is this?" Qin Xian and the others looked around curiously. In contrast, Qin Haotian and Qin Ji were relatively calm, but there was a trace of doubt in their eyes. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and extended his perception infinitely. Soon, he found the fire lotus somewhere in the Netherworld Sea. Immediately after, with a thought, the fire lotus appeared in front of him. "What a beautiful sister. Big brother, is she your confidant?" The few of them looked at the fire lotus in surprise. Qin Yi, that little guy, looked at Qin Feiyang innocently and asked, "Confidant?" The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. This kid was a little precocious. Fire Lotus looked at the few of them, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are they your younger siblings?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Fire Lotus looked at the few of them and smiled, "Hello. Hello, sister." Qin Yi ran to Fire Lotus and said, "Sister, you're so beautiful. Your little mouth is so sweet." Fire Lotus rubbed Qin Yi's head, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Why did you bring them here?" "To sharpen their skills." Qin Feiyang said. "Sharpen their skills?" Fire Lotus was stunned and nodded, "Understood. Then I'll leave this matter to you." "Right." Qin Feiyang pointed to Qin Haotian and said, "He doesn't need to sharpen his skills, just take him to the Devil's Land to cultivate in seclusion." "All right." Fire Lotus nodded. Qin Feiyang sent a sound transmission, "Unless it's a matter of life and death, don't give them any help." "Don't worry." Fire Lotus smiled. Qin Feiyang nodded and disappeared again. "Sister, where is this? What is your relationship with Big Brother?" As soon as Qin Feiyang left, the 2 little guys looked at Fire Lotus and asked. Fire Lotus smiled and looked at Qin Haotian, "Come behind me." Qin Haotian nodded and silently walked behind Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus then looked at Qin Xian and the others. Boom! Suddenly, a monstrous divine might emerged. Under this divine might, the 6 of them suddenly fell into the abyss of death. I won't answer any of your questions. All you need to know is that you will face a situation of 9 deaths and 1 life. And, I won't give you any help. Do you see the desert below? This desert is called the Desert of Death, one of the biggest forbidden areas here. The storm here can even kill a false god. And your mission is to cross the Desert of Death. Fire Lotus said coldly. What? The 6 of them suddenly changed their expressions. Go. Whether you can survive or not depends on your luck. Fire Lotus waved her hand, and the 6 of them fell into the desert below uncontrollably. They looked around, their eyes full of fear. Chapter 2773. They're panicking just like that? They're indeed delicate. Fire Lotus shook her head. They grew up under the care of father and mother and have never experienced such a situation. Moreover, it's so sudden, it will definitely be difficult for them to adapt. Qin Haotian said. Then, if one day, Great Qin falls into danger again, what will they do? Will they also be in such a panic? If that's the case, then they will only die faster. After Fire Lotus finished speaking, she lowered her head and looked at the mountains and rivers outside the desert of death. Seeing this, Qin Haotian suddenly had an uneasy premonition in his heart. All the beasts below the War Emperor, listen up, immediately enter the desert of death and chase after them. Fire Lotus shouted. Roar! At that moment, one after another, the loud roars of beasts rang out, and the earth began to tremble as if there was a huge earthquake. What? Qin Xian and the others looked over in shock, only to see a group of beasts rushing towards the desert of death like a torrent. Immediately, the six of them changed their expressions and raised their heads to look at Fire Lotus and Qin Haotian. You guys are on your own. Fire Lotus said coldly, then turned around and left with Qin Haotian without looking back. I thought there was something fun, but I didn't expect to be chased by beasts. Big Brother is trying to kill us. Qin Xian cried out in sorrow. What are you shouting for? Can't you tell? Big Brother is tempering us. Hurry up and activate the concealment technique, run. In comparison, Guozhi was slightly calmer. The flustered Qin Xian immediately activated the concealment technique and escaped with the five of them. Devil's Land. Qin Haotian stood above the medicine field and looked down with his mouth agape. There were actually so many medicinal herbs. And they were all above 10,000 years old. Furthermore, he had never seen most of the medicinal herbs before. And the energy here. Wasn't this too terrifying? As soon as he arrived here, his cultivation began to loosen, as if he was about to break through. Fire Lotus said, This is our base camp, the Devil's Land. Devil's Land, Qin Haotian muttered. How was this a Devil's Land? It was simply a cultivator's paradise. Boom! As the energy continued to pour into his body, his cultivation could no longer be controlled and directly broke through. He broke through a small realm just like that? Qin Haotian was dumbfounded. First, find a place to cultivate in seclusion. When you break through to the 9-star Battle Emperor level, I will explain to you the profound meaning of becoming a god. Fire Lotus said. Qin Haotian looked at the Fire Lotus and asked, Can I really become a god in a day? Of course not. Fire Lotus said. Qin Haotian was slightly taken aback and hurriedly asked, Then what did he say? According to the time outside, it is indeed possible within a day. Fire Lotus said. The time outside? Qin Haotian was taken aback and asked suspiciously, What does this mean? Fire Lotus said, To put it simply, a day outside is 1,000 years here. What? Qin Haotian's body shook. A day outside was equivalent to 1,000 years here? What kind of joke was this? How could that be possible? There are some things that you can't understand yet. Work hard on your cultivation. You're dreaming if you want to defeat your brother with your current strength. Fire Lotus shook her head and turned to leave. Qin Haotian hurriedly asked, Then may I ask, what is your cultivation level? Fire Lotus pondered for a moment and said without turning her head, With my cultivation level, you don't even have the qualifications to look up to me. After saying that, she took a step forward and disappeared from Qin Haotian's sight. I don't even have the qualifications to look up to you, Qin Haotian muttered as he raised his head and scanned his surroundings. This was his base camp? Crack! Suddenly, he clenched his fists. His eyes shone with determination. No matter how strong you are, I will catch up to you and defeat you. Autumn Rain Building. Backyard. Lu Qiuyu was making breakfast. Qin Feiyang, Lu Xiaofei, and Lu Xiaojia were all helping at the side. Lu Xiaofei asked curiously, "Uncle, where did you take them? You want to go too? I can fulfill your wish." Qin Feiyang looked at him with ill intentions. This, Lu Xiaofei felt a little guilty. No matter how he looked at it, it didn't seem like a good thing. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will bring you and your sister there sooner or later. Before that, you have to be mentally prepared." The siblings looked at each other, swallowed their saliva, and smiled awkwardly. "Why don't we forget it? In your dreams. I didn't let you in now because I still need you to lead the way." Qin Feiyang said. "That's right. This pair of brother and sister had to be sharpened as well." "Lead the way?" The siblings were stunned. "Yes. Go look for your Uncle Situ and Uncle Ling Yunfei," Qin Feiyang said. The siblings nodded. Lu Qiuyu asked, "Feiyang, when are you going to look for them?" "Let's go after breakfast." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right. After all, we haven't seen each other for so many years. Seeing you return, they must be very happy." Lu Qiuyu nodded. "Yes. It's fine if you don't come back. This time, I miss them very much." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Lu Qiuyu smiled and said, "Then after going to the spiritual state, let's also visit the Mermaid Emperor." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Qiuyu said, "An elder Ren, Jiangxingyi, Yan Nanshan, Fengcheng, Black Bear King, and the others are also in the spiritual state." "They are also in the spiritual state?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "That's right. I wanted to leave them in the capital, but they said that they are used to life in the spiritual state, so your father and I didn't force them." Lu Qiuyu smiled. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. In the past, old Master Ren, for example, wanted to stay in the capital. But now, he was still unwilling to stay in the capital? Sure enough. After experiencing some things, one's state of mind would slowly change. Qin Feiyang asked, "What about Luo Qingzhu, Fengling Er, and Ren Wushuang? Why? Are you still missing them?" Lu Qiuyu smiled. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a bitter smile, "Mother, what are you thinking about?" "What am I thinking about? You are friends, so it's normal to miss them. You are thinking too much." Lu Qiuyu looked at Qin Feiyang with a teasing smile. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and the bitter smile on his face deepened. Lu Qiuyu said, "They are now in the spiritual state's holy palace." "Holy palace?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes." Lu Qiuyu nodded. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "What are they doing in the holy palace?" "Managing the holy palace and cultivating talents for great Qin." Lu Qiuyu smiled. "That's really surprising." Qin Feiyang mumbled. "Don't say, they are quite capable. Why don't you just marry them all?" Lu Qiuyu said. Again. Qin Feiyang was helpless. "You child. Look at them, they are beautiful and capable. They are the goddesses in many men's hearts. You are the only one who doesn't know how lucky you are." Lu Qiuyu rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang. Don't. I don't want to be like father, who has many wives and concubines. It is enough to have one in this life." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Sure enough. It is impossible to expect you to give birth to the Qin clan." Lu Qiuyu shook her head. "Then I will have to trouble you, mother." Qin Feiyang smirked. "Kid, are you asking for a beating?" Lu Qiuyu's face darkened. "Mother, you don't know, but grandpa and great-grandpa want you and father to have a few more children." Qin Feiyang said. "More children?" Lu Qiuyu's mouth twitched. He really thought of her as that. After having a good breakfast, Qin Feiyang stood up, looked at Lu Qiuyu, and said with a smile, "Then I will go to the spirit state first." Lu Qiuyu nodded and said, "Come back early. I will probably come back at least tomorrow. After all, there are too many old friends to visit." Qin Feiyang said. "Then you can have a good gathering with them." Lu Qiuyu smiled. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and disappeared with White-Eyed Wolf and Lu Xiaofei. Spirit State. Butterfly Valley. Although the battle back then destroyed everything here, after years of recuperation, it had already recovered. Moreover, just like before, there were all kinds of wild flowers here. Among the flowers, there were medicinal herbs planted, and groups of butterflies were flying among the flowers. It didn't look much different from before. Qin Feiyang suddenly had a trace of surprise on his face. "What?" White-Eyed Wolf looked at him suspiciously. "There are so many familiar auras." Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and carefully sensed for a moment before smiling. Here, he sensed Old Master Ren's aura and Zhu Yu, who had once protected the Butterfly Valley. There was also Yan Nanshan, Feng Qing, Jiang Zhengyi, Luo Qinxue, Lu Yun, Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder Yuan, Black Bear King, and so on. Almost all his acquaintances were here. There are indeed a lot. White-Eyed Wolf sensed and grinned. Everyone here had an inseparable relationship with them. For example, Lu Yun was once an elder of the Sacred Palace and took care of Qin Feiyang. Li Ji was once the steward of the Treasure Pavilion and later managed it. He even helped Qin Feiyang take care of Luo Qinxue. Ji Shui and Elder 10,000 Zhang also extended a helping hand when Qin Feiyang was in trouble. Yan Nanshan, Jiang Zhengyi, and Luo Qinxue naturally didn't need to be mentioned. The three of them treated Qin Feiyang well like their own children. Especially Luo Qinxue, in Qin Feiyang's eyes, she was like a mother. Feng Cheng was Feng Ling Heir's grandfather. Zhu Yu used to guard the Butterfly Valley and was also the Spirit State Mansion Lord before Old Master Ren. Back then, every time he entered the Forgotten Continent, he would interact with Zhu Yu. It could be said that these people were a part of his life that no one could erase. Lu Xiaofei pointed below and said, "Grandpa Ren and the others all live beside that lake." Qin Feiyang looked over and saw small wooden buildings sitting beside the lake in picturesque disorder. He remembered that there was a lake in the Butterfly Valley in the past. And this lake was still in its original position. Actually, all of this was carefully arranged by Grandpa Ren and the others according to the original Butterfly Valley. Lu Xiaofei sighed. Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked suspiciously, "Why did you restore the original Butterfly Valley?" "Because you will come back sooner or later. They don't want you to look at the scene in front of you when you return to the Butterfly Valley and not feel unfamiliar," Lu Xiaofei said. "I see." Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. To even consider such a detail, he was truly considerate. Chapter 2774. It's indeed hard on them. The White-Eyed Wolf sighed. Even though it was so heartless, it couldn't help but feel touched. Although it seemed like a small matter, it was more meaningful to Qin Feiyang than anything else. There was a good saying. If you want to know if a person is really good to you, you have to look at the small details. Lu Xiaofei asked curiously, "Uncle, will you place the spirit vein and crystal vein in the Butterfly Valley?" "What do you think?" Qin Feiyang asked back. "I'm not you. How would I know?" Lu Xiaofei pursed his lips. "Then shut up. You talk the most." Qin Feiyang glared at him, landed in the valley, and walked toward the lake step by step. The memories that had been sealed away also surged out of his mind. He had experienced too much in the Butterfly Valley. Because in the past, whether it was going to the imperial capital or going to the forgotten continent, he had to pass through this place. There were too many memories here. At the same time, by the lake, two people sat by the shore, drinking tea and fishing. They were Old Master Ren and Zhu Yu. "I'm wondering, what am I doing today? I'm not comfortable staying in the imperial capital, so I came back to accompany you fishing. And it's still early in the morning." Zhu Yu frowned. "Isn't this good? Ordinary life, peaceful days." Old Master Ren chuckled. Zhu Yu rolled her eyes at him, turned to look at the courtyard next to them, and said, "Qianxue, is breakfast ready?" "Soon." Smoke curled up in the courtyard, and a gentle voice came out. The owner of this voice was Luo Qianxue. "A year's plan is in the spring, and a day's plan is in the morning. The morning air is so good. Soon." Another old man walked out, stretched lazily, and walked to Old Master Ren and Zhu Yu. He poured a cup of tea, took a sip, and said with a smile, "Good morning." "Good morning. Look at what time it is now. Qianxue has been busy all morning, and you're only up now." Zhu Yu glared at the old man. "Qianxue is still young. How can an old man like me compare to her?" The old man chuckled as he grabbed a fishing rod and sat on a small stool to fish. "Old Feng, Shuang, and the rest won't be coming back today." Old Master Ren turned to look at the old man and said. That was right. This man was Feng Ling Heir's grandfather, Feng Cheng. Although he died in Black Bear City, Qin Feiyang came to the spiritual state to find his corpse after opening the gate of rebirth. Then, he was resurrected with the Black Bear King and his son. "He won't come?" Feng Cheng was slightly taken aback. He turned to look at Old Master Ren and asked doubtfully, "Why?" "It seems that the temple is recruiting disciples, so they are very busy." Old Master Ren said. "I see." Feng Cheng nodded and waved his hand. "Young people can't be compared to us old men. It's fine if you're busy." "Elder Feng, you're wrong. You are old, but we are still very young." Another burst of laughter sounded. Jiang Zhengyi and Yan Nanshan walked out of their respective courtyards with smiles on their faces. "You have the nerve to say that? You're so young, yet you don't go out to make contributions. Instead, you spend all your time with us old men." Feng Cheng looked at the two of them in disdain. Yan Nanshan smiled. "Aren't we afraid that you will be lonely? That's why we stayed here to accompany you. Brother Jiang, don't you think so?" "Yes." Jiang Zhengyi nodded. "Since you're all up, go and help. Are you going to let Qianxue work alone in the kitchen?" A few more people walked out of the courtyard. They were Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder Wang, and Lu Yun. The person who spoke was Lu Yun. As he spoke, he glared at Yan Nanshan and Jiang Zhengyi. "Don't speak. Qianxue is a woman, and so are you. Look at how virtuous Qianxue is. She pays for all our 3 meals a day." Yan Nanshan glanced at Lu Yun and pursed his lips. "What did you say? Say it again." Lu Yun immediately went forward and grabbed Yan Nanshan's ear. "Can't I speak the truth?" Yan Nanshan mumbled. "Can the truth be said in front of a woman?" Lu Yun snorted coldly and tugged at Ji Shui. "Don't stay with these stinky men. Let's go help Qianxue. Those who don't help are not allowed to eat later." Ji Shui shook her head and laughed. "See, it's all your fault for offending them. If we really don't have breakfast later, we'll settle the score with you." Li Ji and Elder Wang glared at Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun. "What does it matter? At most, we'll get some wild game. We'll have a few drinks when the time comes." Yan Nanshan waved his hand. "That's a good idea." Li Ji and Elder Wang's eyes lit up. Yan Nanshan sat beside Feng Cheng and looked at the float on the water. Speaking of which, Ling Yunfei and Shuang haven't come to visit us in a long time. There's nothing we can do. Who asked them to have children? Jiang Zhengyi shook his head. Don't you think time passes too quickly? In the blink of an eye, Xiaohong and Lu Zheng's 2 children are already so old. Fatso and Xiaoyan's children are also adults. Now, even Ling Yunfei and Shuang's children are 5 or 6 years old. They really have to admit that they're old. Yan Nanshan shook his head and sighed. That's right. Thinking back to when they were young, it seems like it was only yesterday. What left the deepest impression on me was that I brought Fei Yang, Yunfei, Shuang, Qingzhu, Ling, and that wolf cub to Pan County to compete with the young people there. Although they were still young back then, they had already revealed their talents. Jiang Zhengyi sighed. That's right. It's not without reason that they can achieve what they do today. I just don't know if Fei Yang is alive or dead now. Yan Nanshan looked up at the sun and muttered. With Qin Fei Yang's brains and methods, will anything happen to him? A loud and clear voice sounded. The Black Bear King and his son walked out of a cave. The bear cub had also grown up. Its size was comparable to the Black Bear King. That's true. With Fei Yang's talent and personality, no matter where he goes, he is destined to be a dragon among men. Yan Nanshan nodded. All right, it's time to eat. At this moment, a dignified and virtuous woman walked out with a bowl and chopsticks. In the courtyard, there was a large round table with 10 wooden stools around it. Hearing that it was time to eat, Yan Nanshan and the others immediately stood up and walked towards the round table with a smile. My dear wife, thank you for your hard work. Jiang Zhengyi walked to the woman's side, his rough face full of tenderness. That's right. This woman was Luo Qianxue. You know that I've worked hard. Why aren't you helping? Luo Qianxue rolled her eyes at him. I'll go help right away. Jiang Zhengyi chuckled. It's already done. What else do I need your help for? Luo Qianxue said. Help me serve the dishes. Jiang Zhengyi said with a smile without turning his head. Hearing this, Luo Qianxue couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. They're so happy. Not far away. The white-eyed wolf whispered. That's right. Qin Fei Yang nodded. They had been here for a long time, but they didn't say anything. They just stood there and looked at this group of cute people. Their relationship now is like that of a family. Sometimes, even I envy them. Lu Xiaofei said telepathically. After all, this is the life that everyone yearns for. Qin Fei Yang smiled and said, let's go and freeload. Freeload? Lu Xiaofei was stunned and hurriedly said, didn't we just eat at Grandma's place? Can't we eat again after eating? Qin Fei Yang chuckled and strode towards the courtyard, saying loudly, Auntie Shui, add a few more pairs of bowls and chopsticks. Luo Qianxue was about to return to the kitchen when she suddenly heard this voice. She was slightly stunned. Why did this voice sound a little familiar? At the same time, Feng Cheng, Old Master Ren, and the others were also stunned. They immediately turned around and looked in the direction of the voice. When they saw Qin Fei Yang, the white-eyed wolf, and Lu Xiaofei walking towards the courtyard, they immediately froze. Fei Yang? Wolf cub? This wasn't a dream, right? What's going on? Jiang Zhengyi walked out with 2 side dishes. Looking at everyone's expressions, he also looked towards Qin Fei Yang and the others. He was instantly stunned. Lu Yun and Ji Shui also walked out with 2 side dishes in their hands. When they saw Qin Fei Yang and the white-eyed wolf, their bodies suddenly froze. Qin Fei Yang? The white-eyed wolf? Why were they here? Illusion, it must be an illusion. Old Master Ren rubbed his eyes and looked at Qin Fei Yang again. They were still here, then it wasn't an illusion? In other words, Fei Yang and the white-eyed wolf were really back. But this was too sudden. He was completely unprepared. Crack. Suddenly, the two side dishes in Jiang Zhengyi's hands slipped to the ground and shattered. The dishes also fell to the ground. It was also this crisp sound that woke everyone up. Fei Yang. At that moment, a group of people ran towards Qin Fei Yang. Ji Shui and Lu Yun also hurriedly walked to the round table, put down the plates in their hands, and quickly walked over. Fei Yang, the white-eyed wolf, is it really you guys? We're not dreaming. A group of people surrounded Qin Fei Yang and the white-eyed wolf. Even though the living people were standing in front of them, they still found it hard to believe. The white-eyed wolf grinned and bit Yan Nanshan's arm. Then, he looked at Yan Nanshan and asked, "Does it hurt?" "Nonsense, of course it hurts," Yan Nanshan said angrily as he rubbed his arm. "Since it hurts, it must be a dream," the white-eyed wolf said. Yan Nanshan was stunned. That's right. Pain meant that it wasn't a dream. Old Master, Senior Zhu Yu, Elder Feng, Uncle Yan, Aunt Shui, Qin Fei Yang scanned them one by one and said with a smile, "We're back." "It's really you, kid." Yan Nanshan immediately stepped forward, fiercely punched Qin Fei Yang's chest, and said, "We were just talking about you just now," and in the next moment, "You brat appeared. Is this a special surprise for us?" "Hee hee. That's right. We've been here for a long time, but we've been hiding over there. How is it? Is it a surprise?" The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. "It's too, a surprise." Yan Nanshan was so excited that he was incoherent. Chapter 2775. How could they not be excited? It had been a few hundred years since Qin Fei Yang left Great Qin. To mortals, this was a few lifetimes. Although Yan Nanshan and the others were all cultivators and were not weak, they were now living the lives of ordinary people. Therefore, to them, a few hundred years was too long. They had fantasized countless times that one day, Qin Fei Yang would suddenly stand behind them, fiercely pat their shoulders, and give them an unexpected surprise. "Everyone, I'm back." They didn't expect that at this moment, he would really give them a surprise. It was simply unexpected. "It's good that you're back." Luo Qianxue walked in front of Qin Fei Yang, grabbed Qin Fei Yang's hand, and smiled happily. Her eyes were filled with tears, blurring her vision. Auntie Shui, Qin Fei Yang looked at the woman in front of him and couldn't help but feel his heart ache. In the past, when he was stranded in Iron Ox Town, other than Uncle Yuan, the person who cared about him the most was this woman in front of him. It was as if she treated him as her biological child. Sometimes, even her daughter, Luo Qingzhu, couldn't help but feel jealous. It could be said that, during that period of time, he enjoyed a long-awaited period of maternal love. To be able to see this mother-like existence again, he was extremely happy. Don't let Fei Yang stand there all the time. Lu Yun, hurry up and get a few more sets of bowls and chopsticks. Prepare to eat. Jiang Zhengyi urged. Okay. Lu Yun came back to her senses and ran into the backyard. Just as she turned around, she quietly wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes. Yes. Sit here. Luo Qianxue pulled Qin Fei Yang and turned to walk towards the round table. Old Master Ren and the others looked at each other, wiped away their tears, and walked towards the round table with smiles on their faces. Grandpa Ren, you guys are too much. Uncle is back, and you treat us like air. Lu Xiaofei complained unhappily. Everyone was stunned. Rascal. Usually, when you come to play, I've never seen you be so polite to us. Yan Nanshan scolded jokingly. Hearing this, Lu Xiaofei rubbed his head and chuckled. As expected, he was not polite at all. He ran to the round table and sat down. After everyone was seated, Yan Nanshan asked, "Fei Yang, White-Eyed Wolf, when did you guys come back?" 3 days ago. Qin Feiyang said. Yan Nanshan frowned and said, "Then why aren't you in the capital to accompany your mother? It hasn't been easy for your mother all these years." What a joke. How could giving birth to 7 children be easy? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "I was in a hurry to visit you. I'm really touched by your words. Why don't we do it a little?" Yan Nanshan took out a wine jar the size of a rubber ball from his Qianquan bag and grinned. "What are you doing early in the morning?" Lu Yun walked out with a bowl and chopsticks and glared at Yan Nanshan. "I'm just happy." Yan Nanshan smiled. "What's the situation?" Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other. There seemed to be something wrong with Lu Yun and Uncle Yan. "Uncle, you don't know. They have already." Lu Xiaofei stuck out 2 thumbs, moving them up and down. His smile was extremely ambiguous. "Oh?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. What did he mean? Lu Xiaofei was helpless. "Uncle, you really don't understand. You insist that I explain that they have already become partners." Qin Feiyang was stunned. The White-Eyed Wolf also looked at Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun in shock. It can't be. The 2 of them actually became partners? When Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun saw this, they looked a little embarrassed. A single man and a single woman will develop feelings over time, we'll talk about it again. They're not young anymore. It's indeed time for them to find a partner. Jiang Zhengyi laughed out loud. "No one will think you're mute if you don't speak." Yan Nanshan and Lu Yun glared at Jiang Zhengyi at the same time. All right. I won't say it. I won't say it. Jiang Zhengyi waved his hand. Lu Yun put down his bowl and chopsticks and sat beside Yan Nanshan. He said with a smile, "Fei Yang, I'm sorry for making a fool of myself." No. This is a good thing. I have to congratulate you." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and stood up with cupped hands. "Congratulations to Uncle Yan and Auntie Yun for getting married." "Good." The corners of Yan Nanshan's mouth twitched. "What's with your reaction?" Lu Yun pricked up his brows. No. Yan Nanshan hurriedly shook his head. "It looks like another henpecked husband." The White-Eyed Wolf shook his head. The moment that was said, everyone burst into laughter. Qin Feiyang also laughed out loud. He returned to his stool and asked, "Then, Uncle Yan, Auntie Yun, what about your children?" "Children?" The couple was taken aback. "Since you are all together, you should be like my father and mother. Have a bunch of children and grandchildren. Only then will life be fun." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "A bunch?" Yan Nanshan was so frightened that he trembled. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Forget it. We're all so old. There's no need to tire ourselves out." "You call this old?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. As a cultivator, he had to have a youthful mindset. Some people in the ancient world had lived for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. Didn't they still get married and have children? The White-Eyed Wolf said, "Auntie Shui, Uncle Yan, I heard you talking about Ling Yunfei's children. They're only 5 or 6 years old?" "Yes." Everyone nodded. "That kid isn't good. Look at Lu Zheng and little Hongzi. Their son and daughter have already grown up. Look at Fatso and Li Yan's son. He can already take Lu Xiaofei to Fragrant Moon Brothel. His children are actually so young." The White-Eyed Wolf shook his head. "Uncle Wolf, don't talk nonsense." Upon hearing this, Lu Xiaofei's expression changed as he hurriedly said, I'm talking nonsense? Didn't you say it yourself? The white-eyed wolf said. What did Lu Xiaofei want to say? But suddenly, a few pairs of eyes looked at them in unison. Grandpa Ren, listen to my explanation, Lu Xiaofei panicked and said with a flattering smile. If the white-eyed wolf didn't say it, how could we not know? Tell me honestly. When did you go? How many times have you been there? Jiang Zhengyi said. Don't be so scary. We've only been there once. Also, we just went there to eat and drink. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly explained, not forgetting to glare at the white-eyed wolf. Is that so? Jiang Zhengyi looked at him unkindly. Lu Xiaofei nodded and said, yes, yes, yes. If you don't believe me, you can ask Situ Feiyang. Who doesn't know that the two of you grew up wearing open-crotch pants? Ask him. What can you get out of him? I think you have to ask your parents about this. Jiang Zhengyi said. Don't. You can't tell them about this. Otherwise, with my mother's bad temper, she will break my leg. Can you bear to see a good young man with a bright future being destroyed just like that? Lu Xiaofei looked at Jiang Zhengyi pitifully. Brat. Jiang Zhengyi laughed and scolded him. He shook his head and said, all right, I'll let you off this time. Don't go to such a brothel in the future. Yes, yes, yes. Lu Xiaofei was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. Then back to the topic. Ling Yunfei is different from Lu Zheng and Fatso. He doesn't like to be restrained. In short, he just wants to spend time with Xuan, while he's young. If it weren't for his mother's constant urging, he probably wouldn't have the mood to have a child now. Jiang Zhengyi looked at the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile. This is normal. Seeing that Lu Zheng and Fatso's child is already so big, Aunt Lu Ji will definitely be anxious. Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Ji was Ling Yunfei's mother. Isn't that so? In the past, every time we met, she would frown and sigh. But now she's fine. Ever since Ling Yunfei and Xuan gave birth to a little granddaughter for her, she's changed completely. Jiang Zhengyi said with a smile. Little granddaughter? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. They gave birth to a daughter. Lu Ji is still urging them to give birth to a fat boy. Jiang Zhengyi said. I really envy them. They can live such a carefree life and do whatever they want. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. What about you? How's your relationship with Xiaoyu going? Luo Qianxue asked. We're doing well. Qin Feiyang nodded. You're not married yet? Luo Qianxue asked. No. At the moment, I don't have such plans. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then you have to hurry up. Otherwise, when Ling Yunfei's grandchildren are running around, you won't be married yet. Luo Qianxue said. Wait for the next time. The next time I come back, I'll definitely invite everyone to my wedding. You should also prepare a gift as soon as possible. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Next time? Everyone was stunned. Old Master Ren asked, You're still leaving? Yes. There are still many things that haven't been dealt with properly. Qin Feiyang said. Is it important? Luo Qianxue asked. It's very important. Qin Feiyang nodded. Luo Qianxue wanted to ask something more, but Jiang Zhengyi suddenly interrupted her. He glared at her and said, Why are you asking so many questions? You can't help. I'm just concerned. Luo Qianxue was dissatisfied. Just keep your concern in your heart. Come on, come on. The food is getting cold. Hurry up and eat. Jiang Zhengyi looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Qin Feiyang chuckled, picked up a bowl of millet porridge, and wolfed it down. As he ate, he nodded and said, Auntie Shue's cooking is delicious. Luo Qianxue smiled slightly and looked at Qin Feiyang without saying a word. Her eyes were filled with love. In her mind, she couldn't help but think of Qin Feiyang from back then. At that time, although Qin Feiyang lived a life full of disasters, he didn't give up and walked all the way strong. Later on, in order to save everyone, he even sacrificed himself. Fortunately, the heavens were fair and didn't really take his life. Old Master Ren, Yan Nanshan, Feng Qing, Jiang Zhengyi, Lu Yun, Ji Shui, Li Ji, Elder 30,000 Zhang, and He Xiong also looked at Qin Feiyang with smiles. Although so many years had passed and Qin Feiyang now had unparalleled achievements, he didn't put on any airs in front of them. He was exactly the same as the youth from back then. He hadn't changed at all. Chapter 2776. After a delicious breakfast, Qin Feiyang sat in the courtyard with everyone, drinking tea and chatting. "Feiyang, what do you want to eat for lunch? Tell me and I'll make it for you." Luo Qianxue finished cleaning up the dishes and sat beside Qin Feiyang with a smile. Jiang Zhengyi said, "Didn't we just finish breakfast? I prepared in advance." Luo Qianxue said. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "When I come back this time, I'll probably gain at least 5 kilograms. 3 meals a day, every meal was very sumptuous." If this was in the past, it would be an extravagant hope. Because this was the kind of life he yearned for. Forget about lunch. I'll go see Qingzhou and the others first, then make a trip to the Sea of Despair, and finally go to Iron Bull Town. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "In such a hurry? Are you leaving tomorrow?" Luo Qianxue frowned. "Not really. I just can't wait to see them as soon as possible." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "That's fine too." Luo Qianxue nodded and said with a smile, "You can go to Iron Bull Town and bring Ling Yunfei and his family here. Let's have a good gathering." "Okay." Qin Feiyang smiled and took out a jar of tea leaves. He handed it to Old Master Ren and said, "Old Master Ren, try my tea." "What tea?" Old Master Ren was suspicious. Yan Nanshan said, "The tea leaves that Feiyang brought back are definitely not ordinary tea leaves." Old Master Ren took the tea jar and gently opened it. A fragrant smell immediately assailed his nose. Immediately, Old Master Ren's eyes lit up. He looked at Luo Qianxue and said, "Qianxue, quickly brew a pot and let me try it." "Okay." Luo Qianxue smiled. After a while, the intoxicating aroma of tea wafted through the air. Old Master Ren couldn't wait to taste it and couldn't help but praise, "It's indeed good tea. It's indeed not bad." Jiang Zhengyi also tasted the tea and nodded with a smile. "This was planted by one of my sisters. This tea tree is also extremely rare. Even in the ancient realm, this tea is of the highest quality." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Younger sister?" Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those sisters in the capital." "I knew it. How could your sisters in the imperial capital brew such tea leaves? Speaking of which, how did you feel when you first saw your younger siblings?" Yan Nanshan asked. "Although it's the first time we've met, it's quite cordial." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Definitely. Blood is thicker than water after all." Lu Yun nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "I came back this time to do one more thing." "What is it?" Everyone looked at him suspiciously. "I deposed all the martial marquis and even expelled Qinli from the imperial capital." Qin Feiyang said. "No way." Everyone was shocked. To Qin Feiyang, this might be a trivial matter, but to the people of Great Qin, it was an extremely shocking matter. Qin Feiyang said, "Do you think I did the right thing?" You naturally have your reasons for doing so. Regardless of whether it's right or wrong, we will support you. Old Master Ren laughed hoarsely. Thank you, Old Master. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. In my opinion, dethroning the martial marquis is the right thing to do. Look at these people. Great Qin raised them and gave them status and identity that no one can match, but what about them? Not only do they not know how to be grateful, but they also rely on their ancestors' contributions to form cliques and oppose us in secret. If they continue to cause trouble like this, I'm afraid that the incident with the Zhuge family will happen again. Therefore, it's wise of me to depose them. On the other hand, Qinli, I know a little about this kid's ambition, but he's your younger brother after all. Isn't it too much to expel him from the imperial capital? Yan Nanshan looked at Qin Feiyang and said. 5 years. I'll give him 5 years to reflect. If there are changes by then, I'll give him a chance. But if it's still the same as before, then I can only give up on him. Qin Feiyang said. 5 years, thinking back, you were expelled from the imperial capital by the emperor and even ended up in Iron Ox Town, where you were a cripple for 5 years. In comparison, he's still considered lucky. At least his cultivation is still there. Looking at it this way, you also put in a lot of effort for Qinli, Jiang Zhengyi said with a smile. After all, he's my younger brother. How can I bear to let him go astray? Qin Feiyang sighed. I hope he can understand your painstaking efforts. Yan Nanshan smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked up at the sun in the sky. He stood up and looked at everyone with a smile. All right, I'll go to the sacred palace now. Don't go to the sacred palace. Old Man Ren shook his head. Why? Aren't they in the sacred palace? Qin Feiyang froze. Old Man Ren smiled. They are in the inner hall of the sacred palace. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. The inner hall and the sacred palace were not in the same place. The sacred palace was in the state capital. But the inner hall was in the Tranquility Mountain Range. The Tranquility Mountain Range was the headquarters of the beasts in the spiritual state. It was extremely dangerous, and ordinary people did not dare to enter. And the Tranquility Mountain Range was adjacent to the Ocean of Despair. Then let's go to the inner hall. I wonder how they are now after so many years. Qin Feiyang smiled. They will definitely be shocked and they see you guys suddenly appear. Feng Cheng chuckled. Lu Xiaofei opened a portal, and the 3 people and 1 wolf walked in one after another. This little guy is getting stronger and stronger. Looking at the dissipating portal, Yan Nanshan shook his head and sighed. Yeah. His current cultivation is like a vast ocean, unfathomable. It's hard to believe. What level has he reached now? Jiang Zhengyi nodded. Luo Qianxue smiled. No matter how strong he is still our child, right? That's right. Old Man Ren nodded. In front of a mountain range. Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Lu Xiaofei appeared out of thin air. Lu Xiaofei pointed at the mountain and said, Uncle, that is the Tranquility Mountain Range. I know. Qin Feiyang said. How do you know? Lu Xiaofei froze. Qin Feiyang smiled. I stayed in the inner hall back then, and the Ocean of Despair at the end of the Tranquility Mountain Range is your aunt's home. Yeah. How could I forget? Aunt Wushuang also said that when you guys entered the spiritual state, she came here to pick you guys up. Lu Xiaofei patted his head and said. She told you all this? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. Aunts like me very much. Lu Xiaofei smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right. Back then. He, White-Eyed Wolf, Fatso, and Lu Hong crossed the desert from the Yan County and came to the Ocean of Despair. It was in the ocean of despair that he met the mermaid princess. And it was also at that time that he activated the purple gold dragon soul and formed the heart's knot with the mermaid princess. From then on, their fates were tied together. But at that time, he, who was blinded by hatred, hid his feelings and left the ocean of despair. When they entered the Tranquility Mountain range, they found that it was surprisingly big. And there were ferocious beasts everywhere. In the end, they had no choice but to send a message to Ren Wuxuang. After Ren Wuxuang heard about it, he came to the Tranquility Mountain range and brought them to the state capital. Although it had been a long time, it seemed like it just happened yesterday. Take it. The white-eyed wolf suddenly threw a pill to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He quickly caught the pill and found that it was an illusion pill. He frowned and said, "What? What do you think?" The white-eyed wolf sneered. "You guy." Qin Feiyang shook his head and took the illusion pill, slightly changing his appearance. The white-eyed wolf turned into a big black dog again. He looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and urged, "You two hurry up." Boring. Lu Xiaojia pouted. "That's right, Uncle Wolf, you're too childish." Lu Xiaofei also said. "You don't want to, right? Then get out of here now." The white-eyed wolf said. "Yes, yes." Hearing this, the brother and sister quickly nodded and took out an illusion pill and threw it into their mouths. "That's more like it. Let's go." The white-eyed wolf chuckled and led Qin Feiyang and the brother and sister into the depths of the mountain range. Once, when they were still in the War King, it would take them at least a few years to cross this mountain range. But now, it was only a few blinks of an eye. Even standing on this side of the mountain range, one could see the Sea of Despair on the other side. Of course, the white-eyed wolf did not use his extreme speed. He just treated it as if he was revisiting an old place. A moment later, a towering mountain peak entered his line of sight. At the peak of the mountain, there were many majestic palaces. This was the location of the inner palace. It can't be, there's actually a statue here? Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf looked at the peak of a mountain, his eyes filled with speechlessness. Statue? Qin Feiyang raised his head and saw an eye-catching statue on the peak of the mountain. And the statue was none other than him. "I heard from Auntie and the others that the statue of Uncle was erected here to encourage the disciples of the inner palace. And to let them always remember that it was you who resurrected all the creatures in the spiritual state." Lu Xiaofei said. "Is that necessary? How great are you making it?" The white-eyed wolf was disdainful. "Uncle has always been great. Especially in the spiritual state. Whether it's the beasts or humans, they all regard Uncle as a god." And as time passed, the major states began to imitate him. Now, all the major cities in the 9 states and 18 counties have statues of Uncle. During the holidays, everyone still burns incense and prays in front of the statue. Lu Xiaofei said. "Damn, is it that exaggerated?" The white-eyed wolf was shocked. "It's not exaggerated at all. In short, in the eyes of the people of the great Qin Empire, Uncle is the guardian of this land. They can forget about other beliefs, but their belief in Uncle has not changed even after hundreds of years." Lu Xiaofei said proudly. His uncle was so great. As his nephew, of course he was proud. "All right." The white-eyed wolf nodded helplessly. After all, it was Qin Feiyang who sacrificed himself to resurrect everyone back then. It was normal for everyone to be grateful. Chapter 2777. Inner Palace. At this moment, thousands of people gathered at the foot of a mountain. These people were basically in their 20s, and their temperament was quite outstanding. Their cultivation was basically at the Battle Emperor realm. Why are there so many people? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The inner palace disciples were selected from the holy palace. Thinking back, when he entered the inner palace, there were only a few people. But now, there were thousands of people. It seemed that the spiritual state had developed well these years. The white-eyed wolf chuckled, "Let's go and join in the fun." Join in the fun? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The white-eyed wolf said, "Pretend to be one of them." Qin Feiyang was speechless. Were they here to experience life? Don't dawdle, hurry up. Suppress your cultivation to the one-star battle emperor realm. The white-eyed wolf urged. So troublesome. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Uncle Wolf, I'm afraid that won't work. Look, they are all wearing the Holy Palace's uniform. If we run over like this, we will definitely be seen through. Lu Xiaofan said. Do you still need to ask me for such a small matter? Hurry up and get a few sets of clothes. The white-eyed wolf said. All right. Lu Xiaofan nodded helplessly and opened a portal to leave. In less than 10 breaths, Lu Xiaofan came back with 2 sets of clothes in his hands. One was a long dress with the Holy Palace's logo on it. Not bad, where did you get it? The white-eyed wolf asked. Lu Xiaofan said proudly, I have been to the Holy Palace more than once or twice. It's just a few clothes, it's a piece of cake. A piece of cake? You obviously went to steal it. The white-eyed wolf looked down on him. Didn't you ask me to go? Lu Xiaofan was stunned and said angrily. I didn't ask you to steal it. Kid, your character is not good. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Lu Xiaofan was furious and roared, Uncle, look at Uncle Wolf, get used to it, get used to it. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Don't dawdle. Hurry up and change. The white-eyed wolf urged. After Lu Xiaofan gave the clothes to Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaojia, he stared at white-eyed wolf and said, Uncle Wolf, I find that you are really shameless. After saying that, he quickly put on the clothes in his hands. Lu Xiaojia also went down to the jungle and changed her clothes. Qin Feiyang also changed his clothes. Set off. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws and flew into the inner palace in high spirits. Very soon, 3 people and 1 wolf sneaked into the crowd without anyone noticing. Why is there a big black dog? Qin Feiyang's trio did not attract much attention, but white-eyed wolf was quickly noticed. Never seen such a handsome dog? The white-eyed wolf glanced at the man. It was a young man dressed in black. He was about 20 years old and had the cultivation of a 2-star combat emperor. Handsome? When the young man in black heard this, he was slightly stunned and then looked at the white-eyed wolf strangely. What are you looking at? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. I'm just curious. Since when did our holy palace have such a narcissistic dog? The young man in black was suspicious. That's because I keep a low profile. I'm not like you guys who always jump out to make your presence known. It's as if you're afraid that people don't know you. The white-eyed wolf despised him. All right. I'll take it. The young man in black shook his head. He had seen many narcissistic people, but this was the first time he had seen such a narcissistic dog. Qin Feiyang looked at the peak of the mountain and asked suspiciously, Senior brother, what are we waiting for? Of course, we are waiting for the 3 temple masters. The young man in black said. Temple masters? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The young man in black looked at Qin Feiyang's reaction as if he was looking at a monster and said, It can't be. You don't even know the 3 temple masters? This, Qin Feiyang really didn't know. Seeing that they were about to be exposed, Lu Xiaofan quickly took over the conversation and said, The 3 temple masters are famous, who doesn't know? It's just that we haven't seen the 3 of them with our own eyes, so we are a little curious. I knew it. Let alone the spiritual state, people in the other 8 states also know the name of our temple masters. The young man in black said. Xiaofei, who are these temple masters? Qin Feiyang secretly said. You will know later. Lu Xiaofei smiled mysteriously. Still keeping me in suspense? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Wait a minute. Could it be them? Suddenly, 3 stunning figures appeared in Qin Feiyang's mind. About half an hour later. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly descended from the sky. The crowd hurriedly raised their heads and saw 3 women standing in the sky above them. It's really them. Qin Feiyang muttered. That's right. These 3 people were Ren Wuxia, Feng Ling-er, and Luo Qingzhu. After hundreds of years, not only did the 3 of them become stronger, but their charm was also far greater than before. Greetings to the 3 temple masters. In an instant, everyone knelt on the ground. A group of men looked up at them as if they were looking at a goddess. Squat down. The white-eyed wolf pulled Qin Feiyang's clothes. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses and quickly squatted on the ground. Get up. It was Feng Ling-er who spoke. She was wearing a black outfit as usual, which outlined her perfect figure vividly and looked extremely capable. Not bad, not bad. Little Qin Zi, you can think about it again. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Think about what? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Nonsense, of course, to marry her. The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes. Get lost. Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely, then looked up at Feng Ling-er again. Don't say it. Her exquisite figure was almost like a demon. This little girl was really becoming more and more attractive. Qin Feiyang looked at Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wuxia again. Luo Qingzhu was wearing a snow-white dress, which was spotless. Her black hair was like a waterfall. Although her figure was not as good as Feng Ling-er's, her temperament was different. She was like a fairy in the wind, floating in the dust. Ren Wuxia was wearing a purple dress. Her figure was exquisite, and her long hair was tied up with an exquisite jade hairpin. Compared to before, she looked noble and sacred at this time. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Little Qin Zi, you don't know how lucky you are. You deserve to be single for the rest of your life. The white-eyed wolf secretly despised him. Get lost. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Ren Wuxia was needless to say. He had always treated Ren Wuxia as an elder sister. Although Luo Qingzhu was interested in him, he also treated her as a younger sister. As for Feng Ling-er, in his impression, she was the representative of unruly people. He had been bullied by her a lot in the county of Yan. Of course. As for Feng Ling-er, he also treated her as a family member. He had never had any romantic feelings for her. This kind of relationship was actually quite good. There was no need to mix in other feelings. He also believed that the 3 of them would find their own home sooner or later. By then, he would faithfully send his blessings. A total of more than 3,500 people were selected this time, more than in previous years. This shows that the spiritual state's holy palace is getting stronger and stronger. Feng Ling-er looked at the group of people below and said faintly with a great pressure in her voice. The female disciples at the scene were fine, but the male disciples were all looking at the 3 of them with admiration. The white-eyed wolf stretched out his paw and poked the young man in black who had just spoken to them, saying in disdain, "Hey, hey, hey, you're drooling." "Am I?" The young man in black froze and hurriedly wiped the corner of his mouth. There was indeed drool, and he looked a little embarrassed. "It's just a woman," the white-eyed wolf said. "What do you know? Look at these men here. Which one of them isn't here for the 3 holy palace masters?" The young man in black whispered. What? Are they here for them? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Of course. Otherwise, why do you think people from other states would come to our spiritual state's holy palace? The young man in black said. What? These people aren't from the spiritual state? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. Of course there are from the spiritual state, and many from other states. The young man in black whispered. That's not right. Don't the other 8 states also have holy palaces? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. The other 8 states do have holy palaces, but can they be compared with our spiritual state? The spiritual state's holy palace not only has the 3 powerful and beautiful holy palace masters, but also our guardian, Lord Qin Feiyang. The young man in black said with a face full of pride. Ugh! The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. How did this guy get involved again? Lord Qin Feiyang, the guardian of Great Qin, came from our spiritual state. Besides, he used to be a disciple of the Holy Palace, so people from the other 8 states all came here to admire him. The young man in black said proudly. So, half of the people here are here because of Qin Feiyang, and the other half because of the 3 Holy Palace Masters? The white-eyed wolf said. Yes. The young man in black nodded. Look at you guys. I guess even Qin Feiyang's worn shoes would be fragrant in front of you. The white-eyed wolf was speechless. How can you say that? The young man in black stared at the white-eyed wolf and said with admiration, If I really get a pair of shoes worn by the guardian, I will take it home and worship it like an ancestor. It's hopeless. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. Qin Feiyang was also a little helpless. This was indeed too exaggerated. At this moment, Feng Ling Er said again, But don't think that you can enter the inner palace just because you come here. What do you mean? Everyone was stunned. They were all selected from the Holy Palace and had been recognized. Why couldn't they enter the inner palace? The inner palace is the core of the Holy Palace and the place where talents are sent to the capital, so it must be stricter. That's why we came here in person. In other words, you have to pass my test to enter the inner palace. Feng Ling Er said. What if we don't pass? Someone asked. Feng Ling Er said, If we don't pass, we will be sent back to the Holy Palace. Palace Master. I don't think there was such a rule before. Someone questioned. Yes. This is a rule that only exists now, and it will be maintained in the future. Feng Ling Er said. Why did you suddenly set this rule? It's not fair to us. Everyone asked in a chatter. There is no fairness in this world. Everything depends on your ability. If you think it's unfair, then you can return to the Holy Palace now or leave the spiritual state. I won't stop you. Feng Ling Er shouted, her eyes as sharp as a blade, making people not dare to look directly at her. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang behind her looked at each other with a trace of helplessness in their eyes. Actually, they didn't want to set this rule. But there was no other way. There were already many people in the spiritual state. And these years, young people from the other 8 states also flocked to the Holy Palace of the spiritual state. So now, both the Holy Palace and the Inner Palace could no longer accommodate them. So, they had to raise the threshold to enter the Inner Palace. And these years, the Holy Palace and the Inner Palace had been expanded several times, but it still couldn't solve the problem. A little more. Young people from the other 8 states came to the spiritual state, causing the Holy Palace of the 8 states to lose a lot of talent. The higher-ups of the Holy Palace of the 8 states, and even the mansion masters of the 8 states, had come to talk to them more than once. They hoped that they could reject the young people from the 8 states. But they were all citizens of the Great Qin, how could they bear to reject them? So after some discussion, they came up with this idea. Raise the difficulty of entering the Inner Palace and make them retreat. If they couldn't enter the inner palace, they might leave the spiritual state in disappointment and return to their state capitals. After all, with their talent, entering the inner palace of their state capitals was not a problem at all. Chapter 2778. As soon as Feng Ling finished speaking, the scene fell into dead silence. Leave? How was that possible? It wasn't easy to get to this point. Especially the young people from the other 8 states. They came all the way to the spiritual state just to enter the inner palace. Because entering the inner palace of the spiritual state was not only a supreme honor but also a great future. Because almost everyone in the 9 states knew that the 3 palace masters of the spiritual state were very close to the emperor and empress. What kind of existence were the emperor and empress? Not only were they the rulers of Great Qin, but they were also Qin Feiyang's father and mother. So, if they could enter the inner palace of the spiritual state, perform well, and gain the recognition of the 3 palace masters, they might be directly recommended to the emperor and empress. In this way, wouldn't they soar to the sky? Most importantly, there were rumors in the major states that the 3 palace masters of the spiritual state were all war gods. Why was it a rumor? Because in the past few hundred years, Feng Ling and the other 2 had never really fought. Therefore, their cultivation was only a legend. Qin Feiyang glanced at the crowd and looked up at Feng Ling with a smile. Palace Master, just tell me, what is the test? Feng Ling looked down at Qin Feiyang with a trace of surprise in her eyes. This calm expression, without the slightest hint of panic in his eyes, this young man didn't seem to be simple. Wait a minute. Why didn't she see this person when she went to the Holy Palace to choose? Feng Ling didn't think too much about it, thinking that she had overlooked this person before. I will personally take part in this test. After Feng Ling finished speaking, a terrifying aura burst out of her body and shrouded the stone stairs in front of her. The stone stairs led from the foot of the mountain to the top. Under my divine aura, those who reach the top will pass the test. Now, begin. Feng Ling shouted. Divine aura. She is indeed the war god. Thousands of people were shocked, and the admiration in their eyes grew stronger. Everyone, let's go. Once we successfully enter the inner palace, we will be able to receive guidance from the divine god of battle. This is a treatment that the other 8 prefectures do not have. Immediately, thousands of people ran towards the stone stairs as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Let's go. The black-clothed young man also called out to Qin Feiyang and the others, and ran towards the stone stairs without looking back. Is running so fast useful? The white-eyed wolf pouted. How could a group of battle emperors withstand the might of a god? However, for it and Qin Feiyang, it naturally existed in name only. Let's go. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and ran towards the stone stairs. How boring. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Wasn't this just messing around? Let it be. Anyway, it was rare for him to come back, so he might as well let him play freely. Very soon, the people who rushed to the front stepped onto the stone stairs. Immediately, it was as if all of them were stuck in a quagmire, unable to move an inch. This pressure is too terrifying. How can we climb up? Such a thought immediately arose in the minds of those who stepped onto the stone stairs. No way. It's a matter of future and glory, even if we have to climb, we have to climb up. One of the young men roared, gritted his teeth, and walked up with difficulty. The others also gritted their teeth and persevered, moving extremely slowly. After dozens of breaths, the person at the front had only climbed 10 steps. The others were all blocked at the back. Hey, 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 get out of the way. Don't block the way in front. How are we going to go up? Someone was dissatisfied. The people in front were tactful. Hearing this, they retreated to the side and opened up a path in the middle, allowing those with good talent and potential to pass through. Don't say it. There were really some young people who walked up with ease. The potential of the people chosen this time is not bad. Luo Qingzhu nodded. This is just the beginning. Feng Ling said. Hundreds of breaths passed. Half of the people were still lining up at the foot of the mountain. Although everyone tried their best to walk from both sides of the stone stairs, the width of the stone stairs could only accommodate 5 or 6 people. And there were thousands of people at the scene. Therefore, they had to wait for the people in front to go up before the people behind could follow. So slow? The white-eyed wolf frowned. They were at the back. What's the hurry? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, glanced at Lu Xiaofei and Lu Xiaojia, and asked, "Do you have the confidence to climb up?" "I'm sure I don't." Lu Xiaojia shook her head. She was only at the war chief level. "I'm confident." Lu Xiaofei pondered for a moment, then nodded heavily. Qin Feiyang laughed, "All right, then let's wait and see." Half an hour later. Everyone had already climbed up the stone stairs. There were more than a dozen young men and women who had already reached the halfway point of the mountain. Obviously. These dozen or so were all young people with good potential. "Let's go up as well." Qin Feiyang smiled. The white-eyed wolf directly rushed up and did not feel any pressure. Qin Feiyang also followed suit and stepped onto the stone stairs. In an instant, he determined that the strength of this pressure was only at the War Master level. War Master, this probably wouldn't be difficult for Lu Xiaofei. This was because Lu Xiaofei was originally a War Master, and he had even opened the door of potential. Even Lu Xiaojia would be able to barely hold on for a while. After all, Lu Xiaojia had also opened the door of potential. So it's only a so-so. After Lu Xiaofei stepped onto the stone stairs, a trace of pride immediately crawled up his face. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and sent a sound transmission, "Uncle Wolf, let's go." "Ha ha. Let's give your aunt a surprise." The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly, then rushed towards the peak of the mountain like a wisp of smoke. Lu Xiaofei also followed closely behind. "It can't be." In the air. Feng Ling and the other two stared at the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei with their mouths agape. It was actually so easy. Are you guys perverts? You can still run so fast. The people on both sides of the stone stairs also looked at the man and the wolf in shock. The white-eyed wolf said disdainfully, "It's not that we are perverts, you guys are just too useless." "Brother dog, wait, bring me along." The black-clothed young man was also on the stone stairs. When he saw the white-eyed wolf running towards him, he hurriedly reached out his hand and called out. Scram! The white-eyed wolf swatted at him with its paw. The black-clothed young man immediately staggered and almost fell from the stone stairs. "Brother dog, don't be so heartless." The black-clothed young man exclaimed. "Is he close to you?" The white-eyed wolf glared at him, then ran up the stairs without looking back. "What's going on? How can a big black dog be so arrogant?" Feng Ling was stunned. Ren Wuxuang said suspiciously, "Ling, when you went to the sanctum, did you see this big dog?" "I don't remember at all." Feng Ling shook her head. "You don't remember? Then is it from the sanctum? Could it be a ferocious beast nearby that came to join in the fun?" Ren Wuxuang frowned. "It doesn't look like it. Look, it seems to be very familiar with that kid behind it." Feng Ling pointed at Lu Xiaofei. "Oh no, I'm afraid there are a few peerless monsters this time. Ling, take special care of them and see how amazing their potential is." Ren Wuxuang laughed. "Okay." Feng Ling secretly laughed, and the pressure that enveloped the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei suddenly doubled. The white-eyed wolf stopped and scanned the pressure in the sky. Lu Xiaofei was also extremely stunned, and then swept a glance at the others. It seemed that there was no change in the pressure of these people. Immediately, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly, and he sent a sound transmission. Uncle Wolf, we seem to have been specially taken care of by Aunt Ling. The pressure they were now enduring had already reached the level of a war saint. Special care. The white-eyed wolf raised its head and glanced at Feng Ling Er, a trace of ridicule in its eyes, and then continued to run up. Wait for me. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly followed. Although the pressure had increased to the level of a war saint, for him who had opened the door of potential, it was unable to stop him from moving forward. This really comes true. We're not even as good as a dog. Looking at the white-eyed wolf running up the stone stairs, thousands of people's hearts were filled with bitterness. Ling, that big dog glanced at you just now. It seems to be provoking you. Ren Wuxia chuckled. Little bastard. Feng Ling Er's face darkened, and the pressure increased once again. War King. Immediately, Lu Xiaofei's footsteps paused, as if his body was frozen. He was extremely dissatisfied in his heart, and muttered, Aunt Ling, is too much. But the white-eyed wolf still didn't feel anything. Brat, you can't take it anymore. The white-eyed wolf stopped and sat on the stone stairs. He crossed his legs and looked down at Lu Xiaofei, who was below him, and said proudly. Aren't you just relying on your strong cultivation? What are you being arrogant for? Lu Xiaofei muttered. I'll go. This posture of his, Ling, look, this is also arrogant. Ren Wuxia looked at the white-eyed wolf. Feng Ling Er's expression became even uglier. Not only was he sitting there like a human being, he was even crossing his legs. Wasn't this blatantly mocking her? The pressure suddenly soared to the war god level. What a powerful aura, the white-eyed wolf immediately howled. Lu Xiaofei was stunned. The thousands of people below also looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. What was going on? Didn't it run faster than a rabbit just now? Why did it howl all of a sudden? This is the pressure of a war god level. Little girl, you're going too far. The white-eyed wolf stared at Feng Ling Er angrily. Pressure of a war god level? Everyone was stunned. Could it be that this black dog was specially taken care of by the palace master? At that moment, their faces revealed gloating expressions. Let's see if you can still be arrogant. Wait. Do you guys know why it's called the palace master? It seems to be calling a little girl. It seems to be a little girl. This damn dog, there must be a limit to arrogance. Everyone immediately glared at the white-eyed wolf. It actually dared to offend their goddess. It was simply unforgivable. The veins on Feng Ling Er's forehead were also popping out. It actually dared to call her a little girl? Interesting. Ren Wuxia and Luo Qingzhu looked at each other and couldn't help but want to laugh. That's not right. But suddenly, Luo Qingzhu stared at the white-eyed wolf in shock. What's wrong? Ren Wuxia and Feng Ling Er were shocked and turned to look at her suspiciously. If it was really imprisoned by the pressure, how could it be shouting there? Luo Qingzhu said in a low voice. That's right. The two of them also suddenly realized and lowered their heads to look at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Hee, you guys found out so quickly. So boring. I still want to play a little longer. The white-eyed wolf grinned at the three girls and slowly got up. He looked at Lu Xiaofei and said, Kid, take your time. I'll go first. Don't, take me with you. Lu Xiaofei hurriedly said. You have to walk your own path. Don't count on others. After the white-eyed wolf finished speaking, he stood up and put his paws behind his back. Like an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life, he walked up step by step. He shook his head and sighed deeply, saying, "Invincible is really too lonely. Don't stop me. I'm going to beat it up. This damn dog is too pretentious. I've never seen a person who pretends to be so pretentious. No, it's a dog." The thousands of people below all gritted their teeth and stared at the white-eyed wolf's back. If it was a person, they could accept it. But a dog, damn it, wasn't it just teasing them? Thinking about it, they, the geniuses of the sanctuary, were really worse than dogs. Chapter 2779. But at the same time, Feng Ling Er and the other two looked at the white-eyed wolf with grave expressions. Because of the difference in strength, the problem they saw was different. The thousands of disciples saw the white-eyed wolf acting cool. But what they saw was the white-eyed wolf's strength. Feng Ling Er was no longer holding back. Her aura was enough to imprison anyone below the level of a combat god. But this black dog acted as if nothing had happened. What did this mean? It meant that its strength was above Feng Ling Er's. This was not good news for Feng Ling Er and the other two. As one of the most powerful existences in Great Qin, they knew all the powerful people in Great Qin like the back of their hands. But in their memories, there was no information related to this black dog. In other words, this large black dog was a terrifying existence that had suddenly jumped out of nowhere. Whoosh! Within a few breaths, the black wolf climbed up the stone stairs and then turned to look down at the mountains and rivers below. It sighed faintly. It's lonely at the top. I can't take it anymore. I want to go up and beat him up. Scoundrel! Just you wait. The thousands of people below glared angrily and rushed up with all their might. But very soon, they were lying on the stone stairs, panting and sweating profusely. Auntie Ling, don't be like this. Lu Xiaofei felt bitter in his heart. Although the aura that enveloped him was only at the level of a combat god, it was difficult for him to move. Below, Qin Feiyang was still standing on the first step, looking up at the white-eyed wolf with a helpless expression. He could not be blamed. That arrogant look was really asking for a beating. "Uncle, why don't I not go up?" Lu Xiaojia's voice suddenly rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned to look at Lu Xiaojia and saw her standing in front of the stone stairs, looking hesitant. Wait a minute. Why is there another combat king? Suddenly, Feng Ling Er and the other two also noticed Lu Xiaojia and were shocked. Lu Xiaojia's cultivation was at the combat king level. There was no point in hiding it. Therefore, she did not hide it from the start. However, she had been silent the whole time, so no one noticed. Qin Feiyang encouraged, "This is actually just the pressure of the War Master level, you can give it a try." "But I only have the cultivation of the War King," Lu Xiaojia said. Battle King, Battle Emperor, Battle Master, from her point of view, the gap between them was huge. "Let's try it." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right." Lu Xiaojia nodded. She didn't want to disappoint her uncle, so she walked up the stone stairs resolutely. She is courting death. Feng Ling Er's expression suddenly changed. How dare a battle king come here? However, in the next moment, a scene that left her dumbstruck appeared. Lu Xiaojia actually stepped onto the second step. Although it was very difficult and strenuous, she could be considered to have succeeded. No way. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang were also shocked. How could a mere battle king take such a step? Not bad. Qin Feiyang looked at Lu Xiaojia, and nodded with a smile. Even though he had opened the gate of potential, his cultivation was still too weak. If this pressure was only at the level of a war emperor, then it would definitely not be difficult for Lu Xiaojia. However, facing the pressure of a war master level, it was still too difficult for this little girl. "Uncle, Lu Xiaojia's face was also filled with excitement. To her, stepping onto the second step did not give her any sense of accomplishment. The most important thing was to receive her uncle's praise. After all, she was only a teenager and was still a little girl. And Qin Feiyang, not only was he her elder, he was also her idol. Children all had one thing in common, and that was to obtain the praise and recognition of their elders. All right. Uncle will bring you up. Qin Feiyang grabbed Lu Xiaojia's hand, and that oppressive pressure that was almost suffocating her instantly disappeared. Uncle is really amazing. Lu Xiaojia whispered. Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. All right. Lu Xiaojia nodded and obediently followed Qin Feiyang, walking up step by step. What? Feng Ling-er and the other two were once again tongue-tied. What was going on? Ling, something's wrong. Luo Qingzhu stared at Qin Feiyang and sent a sound transmission. Yes. Feng Ling-er nodded. The little girl had a suffocating look before, but when the young man grabbed her hand, she immediately returned to her normal state. What did this mean? It meant that the young man was able to disperse her pressure. This kind of method could only be done by someone who was at least in the same realm as her. Another terrifying rancor that he had never seen before. Damn, it can't be. What's going on? When Qin Feiyang brought Lu Xiaojia up, the people they met all stared at them with their mouths agape. This indifferent expression, this light footsteps, it didn't seem like he was trapped in a dignified state at all. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang felt that the pressure that enveloped him had suddenly soared to the level of a war god. This woman, Qin Feiyang, shook his head. However, he wasn't as bored as the white-eyed wolf. Without any pause, he walked up with ease. Terrifying, Ren Wushuang whispered. Luo Qingzhu and Feng Ling-er also had grave expressions on their faces. Suddenly, the three of them looked at each other and took a step forward in unison. They landed on the stone stairs above and looked at Qin Feiyang warily, and asked in a deep voice, "Who are you?" Thousands of disciples were bewildered. Qin Feiyang also stopped in his tracks, raised his head to look at the three girls, and laughed. Since I have already stepped on the stone stairs, then let me finish. You are definitely not a disciple of the sanctum. Who exactly are you? Feng Ling-er shouted, divine power surging out. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, and a wave of pressure also emerged, enveloping the three of them. At that moment, Feng Ling-er and the other two were imprisoned there, unable to move at all. They were greatly shocked. This oppressive might was actually countless times stronger than their oppressive might. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and continued to walk up with Lu Xiaojia. When he passed by Feng Ling-er and the other two, he didn't stop. Who the hell is he? Even the three Lord Palace Masters can't escape from the confinement of his pressure? Needless to say, the thousands of disciples were all staring angrily. Uncle, take me with you. Seeing that Qin Feiyang and Lu Xiaojia had arrived, Lu Xiaofei hurriedly called for help. Who was the one who said that he could go up? Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly and walked up without looking back. Lu Xiaojia turned her head and smiled at Lu Xiaofei. She even made a face at him. Lu Xiaofei's heart was bitter. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have been so arrogant. After a short while, Qin Feiyang finally reached the top of the mountain. You're too slow. White-eyed Wolf picked his nose. You're not in a hurry to be reincarnated? Why are you running so fast? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him, let go of Lu Xiaojia, and glanced around the inner hall. The inner hall seemed to be bigger than before. But it was not unfamiliar. Scenes of the past involuntarily emerged in his mind. He had experienced too much here. It could also be said that this was the place where he really rose to prominence. He still remembered that year when he fought fiercely with Lu Xingchen here. And Dong Qing. Shen Mei, these people who were almost forgotten by him involuntarily emerged in his mind. Reminded of the past? White-eyed Wolf glanced at Qin Feiyang. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. It's a pity that bastard Mu Tianyang won't come out, otherwise he will definitely be like you. No. He will probably fight with you. That's because he and Shen Mei got to know each other here. Do you still remember that night when Lu Xingchen knelt in front of Shen Mei? No, it's Mu Tianyang. White-eyed Wolf joked. Of course I remember. It's really hard for this guy to kneel in front of a woman. But this also proves that he really likes Shen Mei. Qin Feiyang nodded. White-eyed Wolf said, so, he will seek revenge on you sooner or later. Let's talk about the future later. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, turned around, and walked to the stone stairs. Standing on the top step, he withdrew his pressure. Feng Ling Er and the other two finally regained their freedom. They immediately turned to Qin Feiyang and bowed. Greetings, Senior. Even the three palace masters have to respectfully address him as Senior? How terrifying is this person's strength? The thousands of disciples were extremely shocked. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled. His gaze went past the three of them and looked at the several thousand disciples. He said, tell me, why do you all want to cultivate? What do you mean? Cultivation is cultivation. Why do you ask so many questions? The thousands of disciples were stunned. Everyone has something they insist on when they cultivate. Some people cultivate to protect their family. Some people cultivate for personal desires, such as power and status. There are also some people who cultivate for the sake of revenge. These people are more extreme. For example, I used to cultivate hard to become stronger so that I can seek revenge on my enemies and seek justice. In the end, when I really reached this step, I realized that everything was not as I thought. Later, I cultivated hard to protect my family and the common people. And in the end, I did it. Then what about you? What are you holding on to? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Glory, status, power, these are what everyone wants. One of the young men said. That's right. Everyone wants these things, but no matter what, you have to adhere to one principle. No matter what your final achievements are, don't do things that offend the heavens and go against your conscience. Protect justice, defend the common people, this is the real cultivation. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. What you've said is too great. We are just ordinary people. Someone said. Ordinary people? It seems that you have a misunderstanding about the words ordinary people. Whether it's a helpless mortal or a powerful powerhouse, they are all ordinary people. Even if he is the ruler of this world, he is just an ordinary person. This kind of thing has no boundaries. It depends on what you think. What do you think? Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Everyone was silent and lowered their heads to ponder these words. Come up. The path of cultivation is like this. It is full of difficulties. If you want to stand higher and go further, then you have to face it bravely and move forward step by step. Otherwise, there will be a day when you will be eliminated by this world. In fact, it's just a sentence. Fighting spirit and courage can never be extinguished. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Chapter 2780. Our fighting spirit and courage can never be extinguished, thousands of disciples murmured. Something in their hearts seemed to have been ignited. Their blood couldn't help but boil. That's right. No matter what, they couldn't lose the courage to face difficulties and setbacks. No matter what, they couldn't lose the fighting spirit to keep moving forward. This was the Tao of cultivation. Thank you for your teachings, Senior. May I know Senior's name? If possible, I hope Senior can tell me. I'll remember Senior's teachings for the rest of my life. One of the young men in white bowed to Qin Feiyang. What's your name? Qin Feiyang murmured. If he revealed his identity, it should be a great incentive for these young people. The future pillar of the great Qin Empire was this young man in front of him. My name, Qin Feiyang smiled slightly, took out a facial restoration pill, threw it into his mouth, and said, My name is Qin Feiyang. As he finished speaking, he returned to his original appearance and voice. Boom! At that moment, everyone's mind was filled with a rumbling sound. Qin Feiyang. Who didn't know the guardian of the great Qin Empire? Not only was he a terrifying expert, but he was also a great person that everyone respected. The person in front of them was actually the guardian of the great Qin Empire? This is impossible. I must be dreaming. Everyone roared in their hearts. Looking at Qin Feiyang's face, their faces were full of disbelief. At the same time, Feng Ling-er, Luo Qingzhu, and Ren Wushuang's delicate bodies trembled violently as they stared blankly at Qin Feiyang. This face, and this voice, wasn't this the man they had been thinking about day and night? It was him. He was back. I don't believe it. Didn't the rumor say that the Guardian has left this continent? It's impossible for him to appear here. Someone shook his head. I don't want to believe it either. But look, he looks exactly the same as that statue. A young woman pointed to the statue at the top of the mountain. Everyone looked at the statue and compared it, it was exactly the same. It's him. He really is our guardian. We actually saw the guardian in person, the person who taught us earlier was actually the guardian god, oh my god. You must be dreaming. The guardian god is actually teaching us cultivation? For hundreds of years, no one has ever enjoyed such treatment. We are so lucky. The thousands of disciples were extremely excited. This was especially true for the young talents from the other 8 states. The trip to the Saint Palace of the spiritual state was worth it. Disciple greets Lord Protector. The young man in white who had asked about Qin Feiyang's name was also very excited. When he came back to his senses, he immediately knelt on the stone steps and respectfully called out. Greetings, guardian deity. The other disciples regained their senses and also knelt down to worship. In the past, they had worshipped statues. Now, they were worshipping real people. The young people in front of him had basically grown up listening to the rumors about Qin Feiyang. One could imagine. Now that he had seen the true body of this legendary figure, he was extremely excited. Get up. Also, remember one thing. Don't lose your courage. In your life, don't kneel to the heavens or the earth. Only kneel to your loved ones. Qin Feiyang said. Disciple will remember Lord Protector's teachings. The thousands of disciples roared in unison. Then come up. I believe you can do it. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yes. Everyone, this is Lord Protector's expectation of us. We can't lose face for Lord Protector. Everyone, charge up. Don't fall behind. The thousands of disciples' fighting spirit and courage were stimulated as they madly rushed to the top of the mountain. Some people had already given up in despair. But at this moment, they gritted their teeth and stubbornly climbed up the stone steps. Some people even crawled up. At this moment, no matter how embarrassed they were, it didn't matter to them as long as they could reach the top of the mountain. Even Lu Xiaofan became high-spirited and struggled to take a step forward. Feng Ling-er and the other 2 finally came back to their senses. They lowered their heads and glanced at the disciples before quickly rushing to the top of the mountain. Sister, Qingzhu, Ling, Qin Feiyang looked at them one by one, and a smile appeared on his face. He said, Long time no see. It's really you. Ren Wushuang murmured. Yes. It's me. Qin Feiyang nodded. You bastard, you came to tease us as soon as you came back. Feng Ling Er rushed up, grabbed Qin Feiyang's ear, and shouted, apologize, admit your mistake. Again? Do you think we're still children? Qin Feiyang said angrily. What? Do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson now? Feng Ling Er gritted her teeth. No, no. It's my fault, my fault. No. It's not my fault. It's the white-eyed wolf. It's all his bad ideas. Qin Feiyang cried. It can't be. When the disciples below heard the commotion, they looked up at the mountain peak and were immediately stunned. The temple master was grabbing the guardian god's ear? And the guardian deity had a helpless look on his face? Their relationship was indeed not ordinary. No. They must reach the mountain peak and become an inner hall disciple. Thousands of people worked harder. For glory, for the future, for the future. Even if blood spilled on the stone stairs, it did not matter. At the mountain peak. The white-eyed wolf? Feng Ling Er and the other two were stunned. They frowned and said, where's the white-eyed wolf? What a disloyal friend. Run away. The white-eyed wolf had not returned to its original form. Seeing that it was betrayed by Qin Feiyang, it cursed and immediately sneaked away. Stop. Feng Linger's shout rang out. The white-eyed wolf froze, turned to Feng Ling Er, and asked in confusion, little girl, who are you talking to? What do you think? Feng Ling Er let go of Qin Feiyang's slap, rubbed her hands, and walked toward the white-eyed wolf. What are you doing? I'm not the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf said hurriedly. Brother? Feng Ling Er was stunned, and joked, only that bastard white-eyed wolf would call me brother. That damn catchphrase, the white-eyed wolf cursed, and suddenly disappeared without a trace. You're still running? Feng Ling Er shouted angrily. Luo Qingzhu pulled Feng Ling Er and said with a smile, all right, there are so many disciples below. It'll be embarrassing if they see you. Feng Ling Er's expression froze. She was so happy that she forgot about the disciples. Ahem. Feng Ling Er coughed, tidied up her appearance, and then glared at Qin Feiyang, and whispered, I'll deal with you later. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. Feiyang, when did you come back? How did you know we were in the inner hall? Ren Wuxuang asked. I've only been back for a few days. Qin Feiyang smiled and nodded to Lu Xiaojia. Lu Xiaojia also took a facial restoration pill, and quickly recovered her original appearance. So it's you. The three women looked at Lu Xiaojia, shook their heads and smiled. He he. Lu Xiaojia smiled mischievously, ran to Ren Wuxuang, and hugged Ren Wuxuang's arm, and said with a smile, Auntie, it was indeed Uncle Wolf's bad idea. It has nothing to do with Uncle. Uncle Wolf? The three women's mouth twitched, and looked at Lu Xiaojia. It must be the white-eyed wolf who forced you to call him that. It's not like that. Uncle Wolf and Uncle Wolf are as close as brothers, so it's only right that we call him Uncle Wolf. Lu Xiaojia said. What a sensible girl. Ren Wuxuang rubbed Lu Xiaojia's head, and looked down at Lu Xiaofei, and said, then he's your brother. Lu Xiaojia nodded, and looked at Feng Ling Er, and said, Auntie Ling, let brother come up. Come up? Feng Ling Er looked at Lu Xiaofei, and snorted, you dare to challenge my dignity with the white-eyed wolf, then you should be prepared to suffer. Lu Xiaojia heard this, and looked at Lu Xiaofei with a helpless expression, and then looked at Lu Xiaofei sympathetically. Luo Qingzhu looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, Feiyang, do Auntie and Uncle know that you're back? Of course they know. I just came out of the Imperial Palace this morning. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's good. Then you should have met my father and the others in the Butterfly Valley. Luo Qingzhu said with a smile. I also freeloaded breakfast. Qin Feiyang said. Freeloaded breakfast? Luo Qingzhu was slightly stunned, and then shook her head and said with a smile, "It's not like you don't know how good my mother is to you. As long as you're willing, she can make breakfast for you every day. To be honest, even I, her biological daughter, am not as good as you." Qin Feiyang laughed, looked at the three of them, and said, "Seeing that you're all doing well, I'm relieved." "What do you mean? Are you leaving now?" The three women were stunned, and quickly asked. "Not at all. I'm just feeling emotional. When I was in the ancient realm, I was always worried about everyone. And everything I saw when I came back this time was better than I imagined, so I'm happy." Qin Feiyang said. "You scared me to death, I thought you were leaving immediately." Feng Ling Er breathed a sigh of relief. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang also breathed a sigh of relief. It was not easy for them to come back. If they left now, they would not even have a chance to reunite. How regretful would that be? "I'm so tired. Aunt Ling, I really hate you to death." Lu Xiaofei finally climbed up. His body was covered in blood, and his face was pale. He lay sprawled on the ground, looking bitterly at Feng Ling Er, and said weakly, "You asked for it. But you're not bad, kid. You actually climbed up. It seems that the gate of potential was not opened for you in vain." Feng Ling Er took out a healing pill, squatted beside Lu Xiaofei, and said, "Open your mouth." Although her mouth was fierce, her eyes were full of care and love. "How could a real man like me want food given to me by you?" Lu Xiaofei snorted coldly. "Oh, you're still enthusiastic, aren't you?" Feng Ling Er looked at him unkindly. No. How can the medicinal pills given by Auntie be called food given out of charity?" "Thank you, Aunt." Lu Xiaofei quickly changed his face and smiled flatteringly. "Stinking brat." Feng Ling Er scolded with a smile, and put the pill into Lu Xiaofei's mouth. Then, Feng Ling Er stood up and looked at the thousands of disciples on the stone stairs. Each and every one of them was trying their best to climb up. Even though their bodies were covered in blood, none of them gave up. Looking at this scene, Feng Ling Er could not help but frown. Chapter 2781. What are you doing? They are working so hard. As the Lord of the Inner Palace, you should feel gratified. Qin Feiyang smiled. You haven't been back for hundreds of years. You don't know the current situation of the 9 states. Feng Ling Er glanced at Qin Feiyang, shook her head, and sighed. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was stunned. We are doing this to prevent them from entering the Inner Palace. Feng Ling Er said. Why? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Everyone knew that the more talents, the better. The strength of a force was closely related to the talents. Why did Feng Ling Er dislike it? You should already know that many of them are from the other 8 states. Feng Ling Er said. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. If you were the lord of the other 8 states or the lord of the sacred palace, and you saw all the talents in the state come to the sacred palace of the spiritual state, what would you do? Feng Ling Er asked. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Almost all the young people have come to our spiritual state. Now, the saint palaces in the other 8 states are in a state of shortage. The Lord of the 8 states and even the Lord of the spiritual state have come to us more than once. That's why we came up with this plan. We want these people to retreat and return to their respective state capitals. Feng Ling Er said. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and smiled bitterly. Then it seems that I helped them out of kindness. You just realized? Now they are definitely unwilling to return to their state capitals. Feng Ling Er rolled her eyes at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. But, you are not always a hindrance. At least, you inspired their fighting spirit and courage. If they can really climb up, their future achievements will definitely be great. Feng Heir said with a smile. Thank you for your praise, Lord Temple Master. Qin Feiyang said. The corner of Feng Heir's mouth twitched. She raised her fist and said fiercely, Are you making fun of me? No. Look at how much these disciples worship you three goddesses. Qin Feiyang looked at the three women and laughed. Luo Qingzhu and Ren Wushuang also rolled their eyes. Time slowly passed. The result was far beyond the expectations of Qin Feiyang and the others. More than 3,000 disciples had all reached the top. Not a single one had fallen behind. Of course. It was inevitable that everyone would support each other and work together. For example, if someone couldn't hold on any longer, the others would rush over to help. That was to say. Not only did Qin Feiyang stimulate their fighting spirit, he also made them united as one. This was indeed a good thing. Lord Guardian, how are we doing? The group of people disregarded their exhaustion and looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. Not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. Thank you for your praise, Lord Guardian. We will continue to work hard and live up to your expectations. The group of people was extremely excited. To be able to receive the teachings and praise of the Lord Guardian was undoubtedly a matter of glory to their ancestors. All right. Quickly go and report. Feng Heir said. Yes. More than 1,000 disciples nodded. Even if they were physically and mentally exhausted and covered in blood, each of them held their heads high and flew toward a hall. Where did this damn dog come from? Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. A white-clothed woman rushed out of a large hall. In front of her, a big black dog was desperately fleeing. What did this white-eyed wolf do again? Feng Heir looked over and her face suddenly darkened. She rushed over like lightning, looked at the woman in white, and asked, What's going on? The woman in white angrily pointed at the white-eyed wolf and said, This damn dog sneaked into our resource hall's warehouse. Feng Heir was stunned. As expected, this woman did not change. She waved her hand and said, All right, you go and do your thing. I'll handle it. Okay. The woman in white nodded. After the woman in white left, Feng Heir turned to look at the white-eyed wolf. What do you want? Let me tell you, I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to argue with a woman. The white-eyed wolf picked his nose and said. Feng Heir was slightly stunned. She rubbed her hands and walked toward the white-eyed wolf and said, Are you looking down on us women? Whoosh! Seeing that the situation was not good, the white-eyed wolf rushed behind Qin Feiyang and urged, Little Qin Zi, quickly, use your man's masculinity and make her kneel. Get lost. Qin Feiyang's veins were bulging. Would it be boring if he did not cause trouble for a day? You want me to kneel? Bah! Let's see how I make you kneel today. Feng Heir rushed over, grabbed the white-eyed wolf's ear, and directly gave him a fat beating. Qin Feiyang, Luo Qingzhu, and Ren Wushuang all looked at this scene with a gloating face. However, a man's masculinity, the two women glanced at Qin Feiyang and Feng Heir. What she said was too ambiguous. Bitch, stop it. Do you believe that I won't be angry with you? The white-eyed wolf roared. Why don't you show me? Feng Heir was slightly stunned. She desperately grabbed the white-eyed wolf's ear and joked. Pain, pain, pain. The white-eyed wolf wailed. You still know pain? Feng Heir glared at it and finally released her claws. She said, Tell me honestly. Why did you go to the warehouse of the resource hall? I just went to take a look. After all these years, how many treasures were there in the resource hall? The white-eyed wolf said. That's it? Feng Ling Er frowned. What else? Do you think I want to ransack the resource hall? It's not that I look down on your resource hall. With my current strength, even if you give me the entire resource hall, I won't take a liking to it. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. You just went out to make a living for a few years. Look at you being so smug. Feng Ling Er rolled her eyes. You have long hair but short knowledge. The white-eyed wolf despised her. Feng Ling Er's eyes suddenly widened again. Cough, cough. The white-eyed wolf coughed dryly and looked at Qin Feiyang. He urged, Little Qin Zi, didn't you say you were going to see your father-in-law? You've been delayed for so long. It's time to go. Father-in-law? Feng Ling Er and the other two girls were slightly stunned. They looked at Qin Feiyang and said, You're already married to the mermaid princess. The white-eyed wolf looked at the three of them playfully and said, Look at your reactions. Are you very disappointed and sad? Get lost. The three girls stared at the white-eyed wolf at the same time. Hee hee. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and looked at them patiently. Qin Feiyang also shook his head helplessly. As long as the white-eyed wolf was around, there would be no peace anywhere. We're not married yet. Qin Feiyang looked at the three girls and said with a smile. Not yet? Then you're a little slow. Look at Lu Zheng and Lu Hong. Their children are already so big. Luo Qingzhu smiled faintly. What about you guys? You guys haven't done anything at all. Qin Feiyang looked at the three of them and said. Ren Wuxuang shook her head and said, No one wants us three old ladies. Qin Feiyang looked at Ren Wuxuang in astonishment. His sister had learned to joke. How could no one want the three dignified goddesses? He had set his sights too high. Okay, you guys go ahead. I'll go to the Sea of Despair first. We'll meet at Butterfly Valley tonight. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Okay. The three girls nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and swept up the white-eyed wolf and Lu Xiaofei. He entered the Sea of Despair without looking back. Ren Wuxuang shook her head and said with a smile, I really didn't expect them to come back. Feng Ling Er also nodded with a smile. She turned to look at Luo Qingzhu and said with a smile, Why do I feel that you didn't say much? Say what? Luo Qingzhu was stunned. Didn't you often talk about this when Qin Feiyang didn't come back? Feng Ling Er joked. Did I? Nonsense. Luo Qingzhu was helpless. Sister, don't hide feelings in your heart. You have to boldly say it. Feng Ling Er said with a smile. Luo Qingzhu blushed and said, It's not like you don't know that I've already let it go. If you have to say that, then I can't help it. In short, if you like someone, then work hard to pursue him. Don't wait until the day you die to regret. Feng Ling Er said. The more you say, the more ridiculous it is. Luo Qingzhu shook her head and looked in the direction of the Sea of Despair. She smiled and said, I've really let it go. I also sincerely wish that he and the mermaid princess can always be happy. Feng Ling Er and Ren Wuxuang looked at each other and couldn't help but shake their heads. The Sea of Despair. Qin Feiyang walked on the surface of the sea, glancing around and recalling the past. White-eyed wolf looked at Lu Xiaofei and his sister and asked, Have you two been here before? Yes. Lu Xiaofei nodded. Not bad. We've been here before. White-eyed wolf was surprised. What's so surprising about that? Grandpa Mermaid Emperor also often visits our Lu family. Lu Xiaofei said. Qin Feiyang suddenly asked, What about the other mermaids? Do they often walk around the spiritual state? No. I heard from father and mother that since the end of the war, the mermaid clan has never left the Sea of Despair. Lu Xiaofei shook his head. Actually, they don't have to do this because the Great Qin doesn't belong to the Qin clan alone. It belongs to all the living beings on this continent. The mermaid clan can come out and walk around more often to get in touch with humans. Qin Feiyang said. Although that's what you think, can you guarantee that others also think the same? The mermaid clan is very special. It's precisely because of this uniqueness that if they frequently appear in human life, it's hard to guarantee that some people with bad intentions have ulterior motives. Therefore, Grandpa Mermaid Emperor doesn't let everyone leave the Sea of Despair to protect the mermaid clan. Lu Xiaofei said. That's true. Qin Feiyang nodded. Lu Xiaofei rolled his eyes and chuckled. However, there's a way to cure it. What way? Qin Feiyang looked at him curiously. Lu Xiaofei said, this way lies with you, uncle. Me? Qin Feiyang froze for a moment and asked, you mean, you want me to announce it to the world? No, you will leave sooner or later. Announcing to the world can only treat the symptoms, not the root cause. The only way to truly solve this problem is to get married. As long as you and Aunt get married, then Aunt will be half the master of the Great Qin. Then, naturally, no one will dare to have ulterior motives against the mermaid clan. Lu Xiaofei laughed. You brat. Qin Feiyang knocked Lu Xiaofei's head and scolded with a smile. Lu Xiaofei rubbed his forehead and chuckled. Chapter 2782. Don't say that. This boy's idea is really good. Why don't you two take advantage of this time to settle this matter? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled sinisterly. Don't make a fuss. I haven't settled the score with you just now in the inner hall. Qin Feiyang stared at him angrily. The white-eyed wolf said suspiciously, did I say anything wrong in the inner hall? Still playing dumb? Now my relationship with them is quite good. Why do you have to expose it? Are you unhappy if you don't cause me some trouble every day? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Just kidding. Everyone knows what you're thinking in your heart. You won't change your mind just because of a single sentence from me. The white-eyed wolf said. In your eyes, it's just a trivial matter, but in my eyes, it's a potential trouble. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. It's my fault, the white-eyed wolf shook his head. This bastard. Other men can't wait to hug her left and right, but he clearly has a chance, but he desperately pushes it away. Qin Feiyang shook his head and waved his hand. The mermaid princess appeared beside him. Lu Xiaofei and his sister immediately looked at the mermaid princess and couldn't help but exclaim. She's so beautiful. Hello, you two. The mermaid princess looked at the brother and sister. You are? The brother and sister asked. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and said, she's your aunt. What? You're our aunt? The brother and sister looked at the mermaid princess in surprise. It turned out that their aunt was so beautiful. No wonder their uncle only liked her. Lu Xiaojia suddenly turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, Uncle, didn't you say that only you and Uncle Wolf came back? Well, why do children have so many questions? Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xiaojia pouted, feeling wronged. It was clearly her uncle who was lying, okay? And now, he was scolding her. Auntie, where is your tail? Lu Xiaofei actually said that. The mermaid princess paused for a moment before smiling. Of course I put it away. Can I have a look? Lu Xiaofei said. What's wrong with you? You're an adult, don't you know how to be polite? Qin Feiyang glared at Lu Xiaofei angrily. He looked at the mermaid princess and said, don't mind these two little guys. We're already home. Do you want to go back and have a look? The mermaid princess scanned the sea of despair and finally looked at the bottom of the sea. She smiled and said, "Since we're out, let's go home and take a look." "Let's go then." Qin Feiyang smiled and held the mermaid princess's hand as they plunged into the sea below. "Auntie's charm is really great. The way you look at uncle is like looking at your precious baby." Lu Xiaofei whispered to Lu Xiaojia, who was beside him, as he looked at their backs. Lu Xiaojia turned a deaf ear to him. Her eyes were full of stars as she said, "They're so compatible." Lu Xiaofei was stunned. He shook his head and patted Lu Xiaojia's shoulder. "Let's go." Okay. Lu Xiaojia came back to her senses and quickly followed. "It's so cold." As soon as she entered the sea, she couldn't help but shiver. After all, she was only a war king and couldn't withstand the cold of the Sea of Despair. With your cultivation, you must have the cold avoidance pearl to enter the Sea of Despair. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws, and a wave of divine power appeared and enveloped Lu Xiaojia. "Thank you, Uncle Wolf." Lu Xiaojia giggled. "Little girl." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. At the bottom of the sea. A huge city sat at the bottom of the sea. Sea beasts of all shapes and sizes, as well as colorful corals, made the city seem even more magnificent and magnificent. "Look, is that the princess? I think there's also Qin Feiyang. Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, those two children, are also here. And that wolf king. It's really them." The sea beasts in the sea quickly discovered Qin Feiyang and the others and immediately swarmed forward. "Princess, we're not dreaming, are we? Why did you suddenly come back?" All of them looked extremely excited. As the princess of the mermaid clan, the sea beasts of the Sea of Despair were naturally very familiar with her. Moreover, the mermaid princess had a gentle personality and used to treat these sea beasts very well. Therefore, these sea beasts respected the mermaid princess very much. "I came back to see you guys. Have you been well all these years?" The mermaid princess smiled sweetly. "Good, very good. Ever since that battle, not a single human has come to the Sea of Despair to disturb us. Furthermore, the current emperor has personally ordered that no humans are allowed to step into the Sea of Despair. All these years, we've been living more peacefully than ever." The sea beasts were chattering non-stop. "That's good. Then I'll go back and see my father first. Let's talk when I'm free." The mermaid princess smiled. "Okay." The sea beasts nodded and then dispersed in a hubbub, shouting, "Quickly tell everyone that the princess is back." At that moment, the news of the mermaid princess's return spread in the Sea of Despair. In the city. In a large hall. The mermaid emperor, the black wing king, and the white wing king were sitting together, chatting and drinking tea. The three of them were not so close in the past. The black wing king and the white wing king were eyeing the position of the mermaid emperor covetously. But now, with the support of Qin Feiyang and the entire Qin clan, the two of them naturally did not dare to have any thoughts of causing trouble. Putting aside Qin Feiyang and the entire Qin clan, just the strength of the mermaid princess was enough to crush all their ambitions. So now, they were all playing their part. Whoosh! Suddenly, 4 people and 1 wolf silently appeared at the entrance of the hall. "Who is it?" The 2 mermaids guarding outside were shocked. But when they saw the person's face clearly, the 2 of them were stunned. "The princess, Qin Feiyang, what's going on?" The mermaid emperor's voice came from the hall. But the 2 mermaids did not seem to have heard it and stared at the mermaid princess and Qin Feiyang. Were they dreaming? The 2 of them rubbed their eyes and looked again. It was the real person. "Greetings, princess." "Greetings, your highness." The two of them immediately went down on one knee and bowed to Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. "Princess? Your Highness?" The mermaid emperor and the other two in the hall heard and quickly turned their heads. "Daughter? Feiyang?" The mermaid emperor suddenly stood up, his eyes filled with disbelief. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King were the same. They stared at Qin Feiyang and the girl with their big eyes. "Get up!" The mermaid princess looked at the two mermaids kneeling on the ground at the door. "Yes." The two of them got up, the excitement in their eyes could not be described with words. "Your daughter greets father and uncles." The mermaid princess walked into the hall and bowed before the mermaid emperor and the other two. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and the Lu siblings also walked slowly into the hall. "Daughter." The mermaid emperor came back to his senses and immediately went forward to support the mermaid princess. He asked, "Is it really you? Father, are you not dreaming?" "It's me." The mermaid princess nodded and smiled. The mermaid emperor still had not recovered. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf again. "Uncle." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. You." The mermaid emperor looked back and forth between the two of them and the wolf. The Black Wing King smiled. "Old man, don't be so agitated. Be careful of your breath." The mermaid emperor turned to look at the Black Wing King. "Are you sure you're not dreaming? Isn't everyone standing in front of you?" The Black Wing King was speechless. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and bowed. "Greetings, Your Highness. We're family. There's no need to be so polite." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Family," the Black Wing King murmured. He then looked at the White Wing King. For a moment, the two of them were filled with emotions. Thinking back, they hated Qin Feiyang so much. Now. But Qin Feiyang treated them as his own family, so he felt guilty in his heart. "It's not a dream," the mermaid emperor whispered. Only then did he recover. He hugged the mermaid princess and said, "Daughter, you're finally back. Father missed you so much." "Father," when the mermaid princess heard this, her heart ached. "It's all your daughter's fault for being unfilial and making you worry." No. The mermaid emperor shook his head and let go of the mermaid princess. He grabbed the mermaid princess' shoulders with both hands and said, "You've lost weight. You must have suffered a lot outside." "Did I?" The mermaid princess looked at herself and smiled. "It's good to lose weight. If I'm too fat, I won't be able to hold someone's heart." Qin Feiyang touched his nose. Could they not drag him into this? When the mermaid emperor heard this, he immediately glared at Qin Feiyang and said, "Kid, tell me honestly. Did you flirt outside and make my daughter suffer?" "How would I dare?" Qin Feiyang was helpless. The mermaid princess hurriedly said, "Father, I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. Can you joke about such things?" The mermaid emperor was stunned and looked at the mermaid princess speechlessly. Yes. The mermaid princess nodded. The White Wing King shook his head. "Old man, don't let them stand." Yes. The mermaid emperor nodded repeatedly. He pulled the mermaid princess and said, "Daughter, come and sit." "Grandpa mermaid emperor, there's still us." Lu Xiaofan said unhappily. "Ah." The mermaid emperor was slightly stunned and smiled. "Xiaofan, Xiaojia, you're here too." "Yes. We've been standing here for a long time. You only noticed us now?" Sigh. "I realize that ever since Uncle came back, my sister and I have been neglected." Lu Xiaofan shook his head sadly. "Ha!" The mermaid emperor laughed and said, "Sit. Everyone sat around the table. The Black Wing King and the White Wing King stood Sit, why are you standing? The Mermaid Emperor looked at the two in a daze. The two were a little hesitant. They glanced at Qin Feiyang from time to time. We're family. What are you afraid of? The Mermaid Emperor shook his head helplessly. Qin Feiyang was also very depressed. Was there a need to be so afraid of him? He was not the devil. Yes, yes, yes. Hearing the Mermaid Emperor's words, the two nodded and then sat at the side. However, they still could not let go. Although Qin Feiyang did not release any aura, the two felt as if there was an invisible pressure. In fact, this pressure was due to their fear of Qin Feiyang. How long have you been back? Now that you're back, you won't leave again, right? After the Mermaid Emperor calmed down, he looked at Qin Feiyang and the Mermaid Princess and said, "You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."